Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have a very special guest. Circe Wallace is with us. How are you?
I'm good. Am I special because I'm a female?
Of course. You're the special.
No matter what.
Okay. Glad to see a woman on the 9 Club.
Yes,
definitely.
as we
You
are
guys
too.
have picked that up lately. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we try.
We try.
You know, we definitely book. I mean, we reach out to a lot of people, male, female, and it's just all about scheduling.
Who you can make happen.
Exactly.
Sure.
I mean, we're week by week here, so we got to get somebody in the chair.
Well, I love the show. I'm honored
Thank
to
you.
be here. Thanks for the
Awesome.
invite.
Thanks for
so
coming.
much.
Yeah,
Yes. We all know who you are and what you're about, but maybe some of our listeners maybe know or maybe don't know. So maybe a quick kind of little intro of what you do, and we'll get into your like snowboarder, skateboarder, all that stuff also, which is amazing. But like kind of what you're doing now and how you play a role in all this.
Well, I'm an agent by trade. I've been representing athletes for 20 years now.
20
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that long?
Wow.
I know, isn't that great? I just turned 50.
Oh my God.
Just recently.
Christmas.
Happy
Congrats.
birthday.
Thank
Oh,
you.
my mom's birthday is the day after Christmas.
Oh, well, happy birthday to her, too. Us Christmas babies really
Yes.
need that extra love.
I know. Yeah, trust me. So, agent, so how does that work necessarily? Like this day and age as well? Like what's the nuts and bolts of it?
Okay, so I guess you want me to unpack the process a little bit?
Yeah,
or?
kind of. I mean, I'm just thinking about our listeners and our viewers who don't know.
Okay.
They're just tuning in right now,
Sure,
and they're
sure.
like, well, I don't know. I've never seen
Right.
this pro
Who is
skater
this?
before.
Right.
You know?
Who is this person? Well, I mean, it's just like I'm Jerry Maguire, right?
Right.
Ah, yeah.
Like
The representation.
as an analogy is probably a good one. I think I'm a little different than most agents in that I do a lot of things other than just transactional business, like contract negotiation, sponsorship acquisition. I also produce a lot of content. And I mean, I really take it in kind of an organic approach to opportunities with my athletes in like extracting from them, like, what do they want to do? You know, what's so cool about, board sports is it's kind of undefined still in a lot of ways. There's like a lot of creative opportunities to do projects or step outside the lines a little bit of what a traditional agent would do. You know, you think of an agent, you think of like a baseball or a football agent. But
Or a suit and tie type.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
I wear a suit and tie sometimes.
Do you? Okay. We've had,
I don't-
us here.
I don't know if
we've-
I've ever worn a tie.
No ties. Bow tie, maybe.
I'll throw on a Gucci suit every now and
Gucci
then.
suit.
Mostly for like court cases or
I think a lot of there's a weird stigma for agents, right? A lot of skateboarders, they don't know exactly what they do or this or that. And there's a lot of, but I think it's definitely necessary. Like us coming up in our era, I
sure.
think it would have been hugely beneficial to have
For sure.
somebody looking out for even just the shoe companies that were around back then, like an Audio or a DVS.
Just to read your contracts.
Just to read contracts. I mean,
For
that's
sure.
huge in itself.
No, that would have been very helpful. I definitely. I kind of thought a little bit, a little bit differently back then about it. You know what I mean? But now, in hindsight, I would have been like, "Fuck, please help me.
Right.
Let me figure this out. And what is going to be good for me? Can you help me with my taxes? You know what I mean?
You
Like,
never
a
had
bunch
one
of shit.
back then?
No, never had one at all.
So when you
But-
got contracts, you just didn't negotiate? Like, it was just
No,
like...
I would show up to my my business manager / accountant.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because that was the guy that was helping me. But other than that, no. I mean, I've showed to my family. I mean, I didn't have any legal, people like backing me at that time. But
Yeah, a lot of people back then never had agents. I mean, you only hear like Costin. And was that one of your clients?
yeah.
Yeah.
Rune.
Rune Glifberg.
Yeah.
Okay.
there was a selective few that had,
Right.
someone as yourself. And to be honest, how many other agents were in the industry at that time?
Just a handful.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely kind of new territory. And I mean, now there's agents all over the place.
sure.
But I think there really is a stigma. I think, you know, I mean, we could spend a lot of time on that. Let's just say I'm not very well liked sometimes. I represent something that I think inherently people have an aversion to, especially in something like a culture like skateboarding, where it's like, you know, an agent is an interloper or someone who, you know,
interferes with what's going on.
Yeah,
right.
or is just like, you know, especially with like core brands where it's like it's family, right? It's so integral to the relationship, but also can be exploitive. And the brands, you know, often have an objective, which is to sell a lot of product.
Sure.
And I'm in the business of ensuring that the athletes get their piece.
Sure,
and
sure.
people don't like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I could see from the core foundation of, like you just said, like if it's the board company and they've been with that company for so long, and then to come and intervene later on, like,
sure.
you know what I mean?
I very rarely get involved in the wood
all the extra extended stuff all day. Like
yeah.
The power drinks and just all that stuff. Like, please. Like,
yeah, I'm not in there like negotiating mob grip deals. Or, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be beneficial
I'm cool.
to you.
Yeah, I'm cool, but you can have that, you know, $5 in commission.
Exactly.
But I'm sure it's important also for that skater to get those relationships himself or herself.
It is.
You know what I mean? And not have...
And to foster those relationships.
Exactly.
There's a level of accountability and understanding the space and coming up through, you know, what is part of your career family. And so that's really why I've been pretty hands-off. There are occasions where I step in if a conflict needs to be resolved or I want more transparency on sales on behalf of a client. And sometimes that can get a little sticky. I mean, I've certainly have, you know, my memoirs will be full of conflict with board brands. But I think overall, I've learned how important it is that athletes nurture those relationships directly, and that there's no need for me to meddle.
For sure. Yeah. And so how did you end up getting into this position of being an agent? Because let's take a step back now, because you were a snowboarder and skater growing up.
Yeah.
And so you have... a lot
of people don't know that, so...
But that's amazing, though, because you, as an agent that represents skateboarders, you speak our language, right? We have more. I could see there's more trust there than just like a suit. There's more understanding. Like you said, you understand where your lane is and everything. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is experience too. Like I think I probably was pretty annoying. Like I remember. I mean, ultimately, probably why I lost Costin as a client was because I was too like overbearing or overtly protective in a way that was probably unnecessary or oppressive a little bit. I remember, I think we had a call with like Brent Bolthouse or something, and I was like concerned about how he was going to be represented, and it was kind of like, really, like he knows what's up, just chill. Okay. So, you know, a lot of it's just learning over time, like a level of maturity and experience. But yeah, I did grow up skateboarding. You know, I have a true love for, you know, what I call self-propelled board sports, which is a long way of saying, you know, sideways stance.
Yes.
I've done all of those things. I continue to snowboard and surf as much as I can. I've had multiple knee surgeries, so skateboarding kind of was a conscious choice to tap out of. Okay. Yeah. Probably sooner than I would have liked.
Right. Yeah.
But I still hop on the penny and I can cruise. And, you know.
Because it's funny because when you first came in here, you looked right at that ad that we have sitting there, and you're like, "Oh, funny story," and we're like, "Oh, that's why we put it
up there for you."
right,
like
because
dumbass,
you were going to this day. I mean, your friends got sponsored by Powell, and you couldn't go that day, so you could have probably gotten sponsored by Powell.
I mean, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
What happened? What could you make of that day?
I was grounded for shoplifting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you steal?
Close.
Oh.
Hey,
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a bummer. I mean, it was like a real life lesson for sure.
I'm sure in the moment, yeah, and you hear after that, you guys got sponsored.
Right. Because how old were you at the time?
Oh God, 14 or
14?
15.
Wow.
Yeah. Anita was like my best friend. She was older than me. She's the one on the right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I met her in middle school. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon. And Eugene had like a really robust skate scene in the 80s. It was like on.
Right.
We had all kinds of events, and we had the cage ramp, and then Willamette Skate Shop. And I remember like Rocco and Guerrero and Gonzalez and Naudis, and I mean, like really cool events. There was Black Angus back in the day, which was just in the parking lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like that was like very early, launch ramp style events over cars and
For
the whole
sure.
good fun stuff. Yeah. And I mean, I just loved it. It was, I kind of never really fit in. I came from kind of bohemian, poor artist parents. And I never, it was kind of awkward, and skateboarding just really, it gave me a place and a community. And, Sean Martin, I don't know if you guys remember him, Miles Rollins.
The name
and
Sean Martin, Roof of Black Label, right?
Sacramento.
Black Label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all grew up together in
Amazing.
Eugene. Yeah, he moved there with his mom.
All right.
And we were kind of all, just the outlier crew, and, we would drop acid and skate the
Damn.
Eugene, Oregon. Yeah. I mean, but I have to say, like, in retrospect, it was kind of a transformative time for me. Like, once you establish a skateboarder's mindset, like, you see the world differently.
Totally.
Like, when you see transitions, or, you're just living your life or on your bike, and you're like, oh, shit, that would be so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could transfer that, or, and that really, ultimately led itself to my snowboarding experience. But very early days, Eugene was kind of a fun place to grow up. And
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
and really strong community, like definitely a connectedness and an inclusivity for me as a young girl.
Right.
In an environment where I felt safe and I had a place in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Especially so early on when there wasn't really that many. Not that there wasn't that many girl skaters. There are now, but there really wasn't.
No,
Right.
we were total enigmas. Like,
Yeah.
and,
Well, I was going to ask how many girl skaters were there back then.
I mean, it was
just
us.
you three.
I mean, there was a few. Oh God. I can't even remember. There were a handful, but I remember like going to the Wake Up and Smell the Pavement contest and competed. And Anita was on some next level. She was a gymnast, right?
Okay.
And so she was doing like ho-hos and early kick flips. Like, I mean, she was so much better than me. And a lot of that was, she had formal gymnastics training. She understood progressive. I didn't have as much of that as she did. She was a phenomenal skateboarder. But, it was like we got to step outside the lines a little bit and still, I don't know, we gained skills, life skills.
Sure.
even,
Yeah,
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But Eugene had a very early, interesting punk scene too. So like I got to go see so many interesting early shows, whether that was like, DRI or GBH or Black Flag or, it's a university town. So UVO, there was like Condemned Houses that would have shows, or
Oh,
Animal
wow.
House. Yeah. And, fortunately, my parents were just like, okay, it's Eugene. Like, how much trouble can you really get in? If they really knew, they'd probably go a little differently. But, yeah, it was kind of like a cool, opportunity to be in an environment where, like, creative expression and, being punk was kind of, it was a counterculture town. So there was a level of acceptance and safety that I might not have had, like living inner city or
Yeah,
Seattle, where I ended up later.
Got you. And what made you make the transition from skateboarding to like snowboarding?
Well, I was in Eugene. It was like 1984 or 5. And I had a neighbor who was kind of a trust fund kid. and he and his girlfriend, who was a friend of mine, would just go to the local mountains, and like skateboarding was super early at this point. But I was into skateboarding, so snowboarding was like a natural attraction, right? And Eugene, they have like a couple small, fun little mountains that are, you know, like bumps in the road, but real accessible, you know? And so I would hop in with them and go to the local hill, and that's how I kind of fell in love with that.
Okay.
And I will say, I mean, much easier on the body, and I just took to it. There was something about, like, my parents, like I said, were kind of artist hippies, and like we would camp a lot, and we were in nature all the time, and I love skating, but there was something about actually being, you know, like night skiing, you know, it was very magical, and I just kind of naturally fell into a friend group.
Okay.
And started doing that.
Kind of being out there in the wilderness and...
Yeah, and I still skateboarded all the time. Like, you know, there was early days of like the summer camps at Mount Hood, and they all had mini ramps, and, you know, it was all kind of a natural extension.
Right.
Isn't that like a snowboard camp now? Or
it is, yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it kind of always was, because they would always build something.
Yeah.
So it was like great dry training, right?
Sure. And then you ended up getting good. I mean, you got sponsored, pro snowboarder, all that stuff.
Yeah, I did like a lot of the local events. So they were called like the Northwest Series, and I did okay at those. And at that time, you know, they were like hand digging half pipes, which were nothing like what you see today. Like, I mean, it's on some next level now.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, and you know, just fell into that, became my crew. And so started, you know, doing weekend contests and did well, and then ended up getting, you know, kind of naturally winning some partnerships, and that evolved. And yeah, and I had a really great experience. I tore my ACL at Bear Mountain in like 92, and that was my first knee injury. And that was kind of like a real kind of hard experience, but also, you know, those are when you learn your deepest life lessons in your hard moments. So it was transformative for me in a lot of ways, and especially like to start thinking about like what else, you know,
what am I going to do here?
did I love? And I mean, that's ultimately why I ended up wanting to work with athletes, is because I fell in love, you know, this was my community, and I wanted to find a way to continue to, you know, have a meaningful place in it.
Right.
And I'd always been, I kind of managed my boyfriends.
There you go.
Okay.
You had a little practice before.
Well, they were all, you know, talented. I was always attracted to the boys who were doing amazing things. So Jamie Lynn, who is kind of a famous, legendary pro snowboarder, an incredibly talented artist, was, you know, one of my first loves, and we met snowboarding and, you know, had a fun kind of journey. But he was a total creative mindset, so I kind of helped him, you know, get his shit together and do his sponsor me videos at that time.
Oh, wow.
All of that, yeah.
Okay. Were you like managing his money also?
No.
Or just his kind of
No, I mean, whatever
type
money,
thing?
you know, he got, we would spend. But
So you weren't managing it.
I mean, it wasn't, let's just be honest, it wasn't that much money.
Okay.
Enough to get us by.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of a precursor and helped you kind of develop this interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little intrinsic. Like, I always, you know, I was pretty industrious as a kid, and I think so much of that was because I didn't come from money, and because like college wasn't really an option. But I worked from a very young age. I had a job at Starbucks. I was 16, and that funded, you know, I funded my own experience. But I think I was always pretty ambitious. Like, I had like an inner drive. I wanted to be successful at whatever it was that I was doing.
Right.
And I think a lot of that is also a byproduct of coming from a creative family, where it was like, no, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to drive a nice car and buy nice things and shoplift them if I have to.
Sure.
I've made amends for that, by the way. But
Okay.
yeah, I I had a pretty successful snowboarding career, and a lot of that I attribute to like being kind of feisty in my negotiations. And I had a pro model boot with Vans, which was the first snowboard boot made on a women's last, and was like, I think probably a lot of my partners thought I was super annoying, but I didn't care. It was like I was gonna squeeze every little bit of juice out of the lemon. Of every experience. That's been I guess a little bit of my approach to life in general. Like I want it all. And I've learned a lot in the process, but I really do love what I do.
Yeah. Well, you have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but speaking of, squeezing the juice out of the lemon and everything, or the orange or the grapefruit, whatever you want to call it. But, that's also tough for skateboarders or athletes in general to talk to their sponsors and try to get something that they think they deserve, but maybe they're just going to take what they're offering.
Yeah.
Because there's always the thought of like, well, if I go back to them, they're just going to pass me by. Like, I got to take this right now.
I'm so frustrated by like the general idea that people should just be happy with what these multinational billion-dollar brands want to offer up.
Sure.
And I have a real bone to pick with, quite a few brand managers who will actually interfere with an individual's opportunity because for some reason they think that is, that agents are interlopers or... that being exploitive somehow, getting a better deal or whatever. Meanwhile, they work for, I'm not going to name names, but you can guess.
Yeah.
You can guess.
Right.
And so I guess I've had I've had to really have thick skin, like I got the Yoko Ono award from Jake Phelps once in Thrasher.
Perfect.
Yeah. I was, the wicked witch of skateboarding. I think he told me drunk one night, and it's like, okay, I guess that's a compliment.
Right.
I guess I'll just own that, and now I am. I guess I feel a little bit proud about it because if I wasn't able to like push through that and worry about what other people thought of me or whether I deserve to be here or whether I am a true skateboarder or not, I would never, have the experience that I've had. And I feel a lot of gratitude. And I really love skateboarding. Like, I like to watch it. I like to, I like the culture. I appreciate its form, its art form, its complexities. I'm so enjoying watching these Japanese kids who are just like fucking assassins doing some next level shit. Insane. And like for their culture, which is such a tight culture, and like Yuto's win was just so beautiful. His dad, the taxi driver who had to give up skateboarding. Like I just really appreciate also the opportunity that the women have now. Yep. I think like for whatever reason, historically, skateboarding has been kind of misogynistic. And so I'm just so happy to see. And I don't think that, like if you pull any skater aside, like that's not their nature. But for whatever reason, like there wasn't a lot of inclusivity. And I just think that that's changed a lot. And also that's big cultural, time. Right? Like, whatever we're seeing right now, a transcendent moment of more diversity and acceptance and anti-bullying and all of those things. But I think like skateboarding historically has been kind of, it's rough, it's raw, it's mean sometimes, and that's okay. But I guess I'm glad that I've been able to like continue to forge ahead and not worry too much about what other people think about me. Totally.
No, it's a beautiful thing what's going on right now.
It really is.
It's amazing. So how so when we were talking about like, because here's the thing is I feel like say you have a client, right, and they're going after a big shoe company. We'll say, Uggs. Whatever it may be, right?
Uh-oh. I would say maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe that's not a good look for you, or maybe I'm the wrong agent.
Maybe I can't. Let's say I'm trying to go for
Uggs. It's a good deal.
Let's see. Let's say I'm trying to go. Listen, I wasn't trying to bring other companies into the
Nine
fold.
Club,
you know what I'm
Uggs.
saying?
Hey, Uggs. Hey. 9 Club's looking for partners. Maybe you're a good fit.
A little orange. Hey. Yeah, a little orange fur.
I think it'd work.
Black outer.
I mean, maybe they'll come out with a skate shoe. That's not a bad idea. They definitely have money.
Yes. Well, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. So
start a new category.
But here's the thing, though, is like this is like because we were talking about before. Is like you're holding that person back from earning a living, livelihood, all that stuff. So. Right. how do you even go about approaching something like that, knowing that that person can either get that or not get that, because you're kind of the mediator for this deal to go through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a little more organic than that, because typically brands will decide whether skateboarding is a space that they want to invest in.
But what if they were already in the space?
Then they would know who they want.
Who they want. Yeah. But say they want somebody. Now, is there still pressure on you for trying to get the best deal for them? Because like I said,
it's an interesting question, because I think there's a lot of misconception about like the value of an individual. And I always say this, and I'm sorry if I'm redundant for people who've heard my story before, but like market value of an athlete or a skater is only determined by how much someone is willing to pay for them.
Okay, right.
And so I only have leverage if I have multiple brands or an athlete that is just like, this only matters how much they're going to pay me.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll walk away, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I either have to have one of those kind of dynamics. If a brand comes and says, hey, look, we want a skater, here's our budget, I can go, okay, well, here's who's free agents in the space. But it's a much longer process than that, because ultimately, as you know, skaters aren't just going to go ride for UGG. You have to get us in a room and be like, okay, here's our whole strategy, and
Sure.
you have a seat at the table for how we're going to market, and we know we're kind of an Australian sheepwear brand, but we really we really value and want to make meaningful investment in the space. And then it's like, oh, okay, easy, right?
But I'm sure some of those companies do come around that want to get into skateboarding, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know,
there's plenty of examples.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what brand we're talking about. Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But what about like the drink sponsors coming in? So how was that working with like Red Bull coming in? Were you working getting those all deals down?
I've done them all.
Was that because at one point it was very, very uncool to have a drink sponsor? Like Monster or Red Bull back then was like, yo, it's almost...
Let me tell you. You want to talk about maximizing your opportunity? Like as an athlete, if you care more about what people think about you than what a particular brand might be willing to pay to give you resources, build meaningful wealth, buy your first home or your apartment or whatever. And I think that's where... it gets a little bit sticky for skaters sometimes, because, they really want to be respected by the core, and everyone's so particular and has opinions and whatever. But if you really want to be able to walk away from a skate career, then you need to approach it like a business. And if there's a drink partner, and I will tell you that those brands pay the lion's share, they have helped athletes build legacy wealth and own a home or have access to resources and opportunity that they never would have had.
Right.
And so people can say whatever they want about, a brand in particular, but I come from kind of the perspective of, if it is an opportunity for the individual, which is who I ultimately represent, then it has to be their decision. And I certainly don't want them to take money from a brand that they can't get behind, because that never works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't want to do deals like that. Right. But I will say that, Red Bull and Monster and, all of them, Mountain Dew, have really created massive global opportunities for the athletes that they work with, and a lot of them have made meaningful investments and for a very long time. And I think that is really important. And even if I don't drink it or don't like it or think it's unhealthy or whatever, at the end of the day, my responsibility is to the individual and making sure that we're taking advantage of every opportunity that is presented to them. And I certainly do not judge them when they decide to take Rockstar dollars. Or,
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Because I think it's important too, because, we do talk about it on the show a lot, but, it's a hard business, skateboarding, and there's a lot of people out there, a lot of professional skateboarders who work a job and try to skate and try to travel. And so it's a brutal industry. And it just makes me kind of disappointed and kind of mad or, just all of the above emotions when I hear people like, oh, fuck that, this person, I'm like, this person's being able to like live and feed his family. And like you said, like have this, like buy their first home, or the skateboarding thing isn't going to last forever. There's going to be new kids coming up. There's going to be, unless you're one of those guys that's like a legend in the industry, like, like a Lance Mountain who's on Nike and these people, Mark Gonzalez, and it's going to be short lived. So are you just going to sit there and kind of do nothing? Or are you going to try to like, be happy for somebody that they can get there?
I think there's something about skateboarding, there's a lot of haters, right?
Yeah,
it's like a cultural thing,
for sure.
and it's okay, right? Like everyone has an opinion. It's so nuanced, right? It's like, but don't you think generationally that's changing a little bit?
Time.
It is,
I
for
think
sure.
It's gotten a lot better, to be honest. I don't think there's as many haters. There's a lot more community amongst every type of skateboarder now.
Right.
So I love to see that.
Me
Because
too.
obviously there was definitely a lot of device separation from certain type of cliques back in the day. In the early 90s, that was definitely like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which we all grew up in.
We were like
Yeah.
our little gangs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
and
for
like,
sure.
we don't like them.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I was like, it did such a disservice for us, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing and have fun, and produce what we can produce.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I will say, despite all of that, and even my own challenges with it, it is a beautiful community and culture. And I really appreciate that we're having this cultural moment where we're taking a look at some of the toxicities in whatever part of our lives that has been a consistent, and we're breaking that stuff down a little bit.
I think it's important. Just of the world we're living in right now with social media and apps and different things. And it's important, back when we were growing up in that, talk shit era.
Yeah.
But we're also getting older now too.
Totally.
So we also respect what's going on.
I'll
and
still talk a
everything.
little shit. But at the same time,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on.
Let's talk some shit.
For sure.
It's
But you're not
healthy.
going on people's posts
No,
and like talking
I'm
shit.
all about positivity on other people's posts. There's no reason I should be saying anything negative on anybody's post. Otherwise, I just don't need to say anything.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You done with OPP?
Oh, man.
Oh, you know
Other
me.
people's posts.
But other people's posts. But so yeah, I love even having this conversation with you today. We've had like Ryan Clements on the show, and I think it's important for people who aren't in the skateboard industry, who are like fans in our community, to understand how all this works. And like what are the inner workings on how a person like yourself like navigates, and their clients and stuff like that, and these companies that try to come in the industry, and
They're the real interlopers.
you know what I mean?
But we'll take their money.
See?
Depending on what they're representing, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean,
like,
as
for
long
instance,
as it's going in someone's hands that we like, then
Totally.
we were just
all day long, right?
Exactly. And we were just recently talking about like Paul Rodriguez's like Target deal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you were a part of that.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
amazing.
I know some people have come on here and taken a little credit for my work.
There we
Wait,
go. Because that was early. That was like fucking. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that was
Early
like,
on.
and to us, that was like, dude, this dude at Target?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, the great thing about Paul is like he was the perfect transcendent star who, there was all the drama around him going to Nike, and it was like his whole attitude always was like, why would I not ride for Nike? Like, I like Nike. I buy Nikes.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that is like, the ultimate. And, he came with that attitude and really, I think was partially responsible for SB's
Definitely.
success.
We,
Like,
we just were talking about this the other night because they already had like Reese Forbes, Danny Supa. They already
yeah,
had
that weird eclectic team. Remember that weird movie they did?
Oh
And
my
we were-
God.
Danny and I was like, what is this?
But then Paul came along.
was Cairo Foster on that?
I don't think he was on there. No.
Who was it?
Dude, Bam wrote for him back in the day.
Bam.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Bam,
He was the first
before,
Well, there
That was
was-
before the SB program.
before
Yeah.
the SB.
Well,
they-
remember there was Sovereign or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they had tried a few times.
Xavier.
Xavier,
Yeah. Yeah, they tried
Yeah.
a few times. It didn't work. But
did.
when they got P-Rod involved, I think that's where
It did.
Yeah.
It definitely
Totally
changed.
He was the new
solidified.
poster boy at that moment. It was like the right moment. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean?
It was
Pretty
the
sure.
right moment, and he like just had the right it was like a perfect storm of someone who like really looked up to Tiger or was very open about, even, practicing or, like taking a more kind of athlete mindset approach to the game and really leaning into competition in a way that, most of those other eclectic athletes didn't.
Right.
Sure.
Or skaters. I call them athletes because it's easier, but it is a important distinction. It's
for sure.
Was it a difficult? How did that whole? I mean, I don't know how much you could go into it, but how did that whole Nike thing transpire?
Tell us the
we're gonna talk some shit now. Is now the time when we talk shit?
Let's hear it.
No, I'm just saying because like here's Nike, trying to make another push into skateboarding, and Paul is like wants to do it.
Yeah.
So is there like you just call him up and be like, "Yo, Phil Knight, what's up, my man? Like what?" Or how does this work?
They reached out to us.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was at Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Or was
He
S?
was at- he was at S,
Sorry,
yeah.
Soltech.
Yeah.
He was at S.
Mm-hmm.
So many brands. Soltech, love them.
Yep.
Still core brand. I give them so much credit. Pierre is amazing. But yeah, I think people were real mad. People were really fucking mad.
Right.
And it was interesting because having been a snowboarder and I watched their failed efforts to enter snowboarding and then their successful efforts and then their withdrawal, Nike, they do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And in this particular instance, it was a perfect storm in that Paul was ready and he was the right age. It was the right moment. And he really got involved. He had a real seat at the table. They really listened to what he had to say. And even at that young age, had pretty strong opinions. And I think they really listened to him. And they also like put him with Tiger and,
Those
Kobe.
big athletes.
Right.
Like
He got
Yeah.
his own parking space, doesn't he?
Yeah.
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 At Nike, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you get that in the deal too?
I didn't. They just threw that in.
There you go.
That was his own
A little cherry on top.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he'll get his own building one day.
There you
I mean,
go.
who cares about the parking spot if he can get,
No doubt.
he
Look
can
at
get
how
a
you
building?
Look at how you think.
Yeah.
Thinking buildings. They ain't thinking parking spot. What are you talking about?
He needs a production line like Janowski.
Yeah, I think
so amazing.
a lot of people in skateboarding were really mad, and like I was probably a perfect target for the anger.
Not to cut you off, those people that were mad are now working for them.
I know. Are we saying names? I will say names.
You need to say
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the funny part, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
That's the funny part. It all comes around, and whatever. I'll take a punch for Paul any day.
For sure.
Yeah, Paul. I mean
That's
that
the early on, for sure.
Yeah.
I think Sam Smythe and I actually got into a physical altercation.
Really?
At some point, yeah.
I don't remember that. but
Tampa.
Yeah, you know what? I do remember
Yeah,
that.
it was nasty.
Wow. Yeah.
He made me
Very-
cry. Yeah.
I'm
And
sure.
that-
I'm sure he regrets.
He
that.
never apologized. So Sam,
Okay.
Sam.
yeah,
Better get that.
He called me I think a vulture. Like he really came at me pretty hard. He was real mad at me, and I think a lot of it had to do with that.
Right. Right.
With the Paul
What-
situation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
Paul left girl
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah,
so.
but Paul left girl on his own accord. It wasn't
Absolutely.
anything.
Yeah.
100%. I had nothing to do with that. That was
Right.
his own decision. And
I mean, it sucks. It was the right decision. I mean, he's
Yeah.
killing it with Primitive.
He is.
He's doing his thing.
Everything
So.
happened for a reason.
Yeah.
That's what he
Exactly.
wanted to do.
Yeah,
It's like
for sure.
that's right. And Paul, like, is a smart, astute, amazing human being.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
doubt.
so completely honored. Like, I love him, legitimately love him as a person, and feel so lucky to have worked with him for as long as I did.
Yeah, for sure. That's an actual interesting question, right? Is like, why? So you worked with Paul for a long time. You worked with a lot of these
18
athletes.
years.
18. Wow.
Now, here's the thing. Why does somebody like a Paul or anybody else for that matter want to like switch directions, switch agents? Do they feel like maybe there's a cap that they've reached and they can't reach?
I think it's different for every athlete or every skater, right?
Sure.
And sometimes you just if you're with someone for so long, and like I am developing younger talent, and it's like maybe not as maybe he wasn't as much of a priority or felt that he wasn't, even though,
sure,
deal flow dries up, and then it's like, whose fault is that, right? And I don't blame any athlete that I've ever worked with that I no longer work with. I will say, by and large, I have great relationships with almost everyone I've ever worked with. Like, Costa and I are cool.
Nice.
Rune is at my house right now.
Oh, wow.
Staying with me for a couple days.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, I feel like there's a natural flow and there's an expiration date on those kinds of business relationships sometimes, whether it's a sponsor, an agent, or whatever. And, I really appreciate that it had just run its course in that way, and it was time for us to do different things. And, he was instrumental in so many aspects of my career and my success, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity.
Cool.
And I mean, he's just an exceptional person.
He's great.
Oh, yeah.
How could you be mad at Pete?
He's just a great dad. He's a good man. He's
really
honest and kind, and he's a real rare bird.
Yeah, he's solid, for sure.
So,
and an incredible talent.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Trust
Goes
me.
without saying.
Yeah, no, it's interesting just to kind of figure out why, because you're at like one of the you're Wasserman.
Yeah, we're probably second biggest sports agency in the world.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That's all athletes, right?
Yeah, we have a consulting and some corporate consulting, and we have a lot of divisions, but I would say our representation practice is very robust, and we represent everything from MLB to football, soccer, international. We have a long international. Do you need an agent?
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Actually, we're under.
Just kidding.
Well,
We're kind of under Wasserman now.
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. And
We haven't gone to an ad break yet.
This is funny. Like, no, trust me. Watch the YouTube version. There won't be an ad break. And the podcast version, for that matter, too. Athletic Greens. Buy it now.
Oh, we love Athletic Greens.
Athletic Greens is great.
They are
Athletic
great,
Greens is
and my husband has a podcast, and they support the grit, and it's a good product, and
They're great.
It's changed his life. He's
love
way
it.
healthier.
As we are too.
Yeah,
we
Athletic
drink
Greens.
We drink it every day.
Every day.
Athletic
I'll be like
Greens.
Terry Gross. Athletic Greens.
athleticgreens.com/9club. Go ahead. No, but it is interesting because we've had meetings with different people, CAA. We've had these different meetings. But you know what? I always feel too timing, right? Timing's everything.
Totally.
So it can't, if that didn't come to fruition or whatever. And sometimes I feel like we're in a weird position right now, right? The 9 Club, right? We're skateboarding based podcast.
Right.
It's like, how do we, it's skateboarding's still kind of, stuck in the older, like we'll do a pre-roll, we'll do this. But I think a lot of companies are not sure how to like work with us in a weird way. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
It's an interesting position
You're
to kind
a little
of
bit of an enigma. And it's like new media, right? It's like a
Yes.
whole new kind of landscape, and you guys are self-made. So I
Right.
think you should do everything you can to kind of hold on to that.
as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, finding the right brand partners. I mean, I would have to do a little diligence, like how many downloads do you get?
It's a whole,
What's your view count?
We'll
Like,
send you the deck.
yeah.
Do you represent any podcasts or podcasters and anything? No.
I do not know.
Oh, okay.
But this is not why we brought you. Of course, this is not why we brought
That's not good.
This is not.
I'm glad that I'm flattered to be here, much less be your agent.
We're
but-
staying, on course.
stay on course
But I
here,
think
huh?
it's all relative to what we're talking about. It's like
Yeah.
we have a business here that's a podcast that interviews skateboarders and people who have a common thread in skateboarding and stuff like that. And then there's like the athlete side of it, and it's like there's it's interesting to try to like talk to these bigger brands, and like what they want out of us and I'm always like thinking like, well, why not just treat us kind of like a skater, right? It's like we have a show 2-3 times a week. Like
Yeah,
we have
that's a
opportunities.
package. Yeah.
It's like, but then man, it is. We could talk
might
crap.
might I make a suggestion for you
Please,
to
go
consider?
ahead. Go ahead.
So, skateboarding culture is all about community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so much of it is about conversation, which you are having.
Sure.
And so I think that's like the real value prop. And if you really wanted to lean into like the next gen of what kind of format that might look like.
Right.
Live stream with the chat feature.
We have that Wednesday nights.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
That's where we're headed.
We have a Twitch channel
Okay.
also.
Yeah.
So we're in the YouTube universe. We're in the content creation universe. So we're kind of understanding all that.
Yep.
It's just an interesting.
I've never watched your Wednesday night show.
Yeah.
Is that new?
It's kind of, no, it's been around for a while, but
Okay.
that's our live show. We do it live, and it's more kind of like a round table of talking about what's going on in skateboarding, this
Right.
and that. It's
right.
It's like The View.
It's like the View for skateboarding.
Yeah.
We just
Yep.
sit around, and it's cool. I mean, our community is
Robust.
like no other.
sure.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yep.
Yeah, you
But-
guys really filled some white space there for
Thank you.
skateboarding
Yeah.
culture for sure.
It's just, for us, it's just amazing to sit across from, talented people and have
doubt.
conversations with them. It's
really
like,
good.
it's amazing,
Fun.
Definitely.
But not about us. Let's go back, because we could talk about us for a long time. But there is some type of connection there, with the skateboarders. So what's a typical, let's ask this, what's a typical, hey, I'm going to start representing this person. How do we, what does this look like? Do you start just diving into what their marketability is and this and that, or who they're after, who they'd like to work with? Or,
And do you approach them, or do they approach you?
I think it's,
kind of goes both ways, probably, or?
Yeah, I mean it's different for every individual.
Mm-hmm.
I have, as I've gotten older, I solicit less.
Mm.
So typically now they'll come to me. I teach a sports management mastermind course.
Oh, wow.
And that has been interesting to get to know next gen and families. And I do it with my collaborators, Sue Izzo and sportsmanagementmastermind.com. But that's been an interesting kind of feeder system, or is evolving. We've only done 2 now, but so much of it is about just sharing all the information that I've gleaned over the years and giving that to families, especially because I feel like there's such wealth disparity happening in the world now, in terms of do you have resources for training and coaching, and if you're on an Olympic run, how do you even get there, right? And so what are some tools, or how can I kind of pay it forward, the toolbox for families, especially ones that maybe don't have as many resources, to what are some key learnings that I can share with how to make sure you're giving your kid an advantage, and understanding, everything from politics to mindset. So that has kind of evolved into a little bit of exposure for some young talent that I might not have had otherwise.
Okay.
But Jagger, I've represented since he was 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
Saw something in him, or was it?
Yeah, I had a boyfriend at the time who was kind of working with DC and suggested I meet with them. And I kind of did it just because, why not, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't really worked with anyone that young before, and it was okay, I got nothing to lose here. Let's see what this family's made of. And really liked the family, and Dad and I got along well. And Jagger's family comes from a pretty industrious family, and provided access to training and resources that were kind of an anomaly. And so I kind of knew, he was doing mega ramp, at 10.
Early on.
Wow.
So it was okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see where this goes. And, he spent lots of time with me and my family, and, he's the same age as my oldest daughter.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, we've kind of grown up a little bit together, and that's been really fun, to be honest, to see someone succeed some lifelong goals,
Sure.
and to have a meaningful place in it feels like a pretty
yeah.
fun accomplishment, especially because he was the only American to medal in street.
Right.
So early on.
I know,
It's
right?
insane.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And we were talking about the other day how about he was trying to do the park initially and somehow gotten third on street.
Right.
That is a new breed right there of,
Well, he really could be a double threat
yeah.
for park and street. I think Dew Tour was really deeply disappointing for a variety of reasons, and he just missed the cut. I think he
Yeah.
got
Got
sixth
you.
or
Okay.
seventh, which meant he didn't make the team, which was devastating. I mean, he thought he was injured. He thought that was going to be the easy way, that, you know, he would walk on and be fine,
Right.
because he definitely has the trick repertoire. I think he was really frustrated, not to speak for him. I don't know if he was on, but, you know, like, he really wants to innovate, and his ability to do technical tricks in park are pretty significant, and to not be acknowledged for that, and the Brazilians threw a tizzy, and it was kind of a little bit of a drama. And so he had to go. I don't think he was, you know, he was not planning on going to Rome, and we did a little work on that, and he had to do fourth or better, and did fourth at the buzzer, and
wow.
it was
That's
like,
right.
yeah,
Crazy.
That's right.
it was a wild ride.
It's meant to be.
It was a
was-
wild ride. I mean, he had a broken ankle through the whole thing.
When he
Jeez.
skated that in
Yeah.
Rome and the Olympics?
Yeah,
Wow.
he had a hairline fracture and a torn ligament.
Oh God.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, 5 weeks before Olympics, they called me and said, we just got imaging. He needs to get rushed into surgery today. I was on vacation. It was like, okay, you know, I'm like calling Casey Wasserman, like, who do we got? Who's
Right.
Kobe's doctor? You know, and then they did an assessment and decided not to operate, just put him in a boot.
Wow.
And then that's why it was just like
Skateboarders
pretty radical.
were
Yeah.
resilient.
He is a beast.
Yeah.
That's
That
pretty
kid's
insane.
gonna win a lot.
Yeah.
Crazy. So how does one, like, say they sign with you as an agent now? What's the process? Is it just talking and seeing what you could do for them, or vice versa, or what their ambitions are, or this or that? Like, how does this, or do you just start throwing companies at them?
I mean,
like,
it's
how does
different.
it all work?
It's different for every athlete. Once
Right.
again, like, I'll just use Deshaun as an example, who's another client of mine who I ultimately met from Jeff Jagger's dad, because he's from Arizona,
Deshaun Jordan.
Yeah.
Great
and
guy.
he's phenomenal.
Great guy.
He's the
best.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
He's
I
the
just
best.
spent a few hours with him today. He is just so great. And so, like, he's different than Jagger, right? Like, he is very particular about the brands that he wants to represent. It totally needs to resonate. It has to have, you know, like, some kind of meaningful connection. I'm not saying that Jagger isn't the same. It's just they're totally different, right? And so, you know, I build strategies kind of based on what do they want to do. Like, it's just about gleaning from them. Like, okay, make a list of 10 brands that you feel are representative of you.
Okay.
And then, you know, a lot of it is just starting from there.
Right.
And that is kind of a guiding, you know, list for me. And then a lot of them are already existing. So it's like, how do we lean into this further? Where are there further opportunities for us to create more opportunities, and whether that's to sell products or give you more visibility? And then what else do you want to do? Like, what aspects of skateboarding are interesting to you, and how can I help support you and the brands that support you realize some of those things that are part of your, you know, ultimate wish list?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I gotta say, that new water deal you got from him is, I mean, that's the one.
Essentia.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know,
That's the one.
all the credit to Reed, right? Like, he was at SLS. He has a relationship with Deshaun. I was just a facilitator. I say that. It's like, I do bring opportunities, but a lot of it is just like gathering information, filtering what's real and what's not, and then really spending the time to establish rapport and negotiate a deal that feels good and is not a heavy lift, but also, provides value to the partner.
Right.
Sure. Because I think that's important as well, right? It's like not only the skateboarder, but also the brand that they're representing.
100%. And
So-
anytime you do a deal with a brand, you don't want that to be a one-off.
Right.
You want them to make an investment in skateboarding for the next 25 years.
For sure. That's just
Right.
the beginning. You know what I mean?
And the only way to do that is by essentially over-delivering
Yeah.
and showing them why it's worth investing in this space or this person.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sean's a perfect person then. 'Cause
Totally.
He's definitely going to over-deliver.
Yeah,
And
he
that's-
really does. And he's very involved in content creation or giving feedback, and he's not just one-dimensional. He makes music. He is very cares about fashion. Has interesting relationships outside of skateboarding, so he's a very dynamic and kind of a full spectrum athlete.
Sure.
Facts.
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah, facts. I know. Your facts edit with him. I just said something to him today about that. I would love that so much. And I say facts now all the time, mostly on
Facts,
social,
facts,
like just
Yeah.
facts.
Facts. Oh god.
But your edit was so
Great.
funny.
Yeah.
I
Shout out.
loved it because I talked to him a lot, and he does that.
Yeah.
But it was like I think he's really slowed his roll on facts now because
We were
he was like, "Uh-oh."
well, we Roger made it, and we were like, "Oh man, like, should we post this? Because this is, it's not a,
No, it was fun.
Right.
We did it to laugh. Fun.
It was so
And then-
fun.
Come on, he can't
No.
make fun of it. He can make fun
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Oh,
with
for
that.
sure.
That's
And
a funny moment.
he posted something about the nightclub. He said, some facts, right? And then hashtag facts a lot or something, whatever it was.
He
And
played
we're
along
like,
with the joke.
That was
we're like,
amazing.
okay, let's post this.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna ask.
Yeah, he
Oh,
opened the
yeah.
door for us.
Yeah.
Totally.
He's got a great sense of humor. I know he loved that.
Man, shout out to Sean Jordan. Great,
doubt,
great guy.
definitely.
Love
Oh
that. I
my
wish
God.
the-
And
Yeah.
such an athlete.
The
Happy
world
belated
for him.
birthday to you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Yes,
my fellow
I
Aquarius.
know.
But it seems like that's an important factor. What you just said was you don't want it to just be a one-off, right? You
Yeah.
want it to possibly open the door to, more skateboarders or skateboarding benefiting
That's right.
from some of these companies and deals,
Totally.
We want them to make continued investment in the culture and the community because that's not only in the best interests of the athlete or the community, but the brand. Like
Right.
if they can actually pay attention enough or they want to make a meaningful investment because of authentic reasons, like because it resonates with their demo, because they like it, because it's cool, whatever it is, if we can provide value and they can continue to participate, then that's good for everybody.
Yeah. And how do you navigate something like that? Because some companies just want exposure. Some companies want some ROI. They want the return on investment. So how do you navigate stuff like that? Because I'm sure it's the same for the 9 Club here as it is for some skateboarders, right? We work with certain companies. They want a certain thing. They're not going to tell us if we met that requirement. You know what I mean? It's a very, dicey kind of
Yeah.
cat and mouse game
Yeah, for
almost,
sure.
right? Like how do you make sure that these like things are being met and fulfilled, or like at least the company happy with what's going on?
Well, I mean, it all kind of comes down to like there's a lot of like opportunism, especially in like social media and influencer culture. So like one-off paid posts and all of that.
Sure.
Like often, if it's not a good brand fit, it's just a pass. If it's an okay brand fit and the athlete can speak to it authentically, then I price it so it's worth their time. Make sure it's user generated content or their generated content, and there's some kind of conversation or creative input around the initiative. I don't particularly like those ones as much because there's typically a third-party influencer agency involved, and it's not like someone who's coming from the space, and you really have to like put extra care to ensure that it doesn't come off lame. But sometimes when you do something like that and it performs well for them, then they come back around and they're like, oh, this really worked for us.
Right.
So it's kind of like looking at each opportunity, again, individualistically and going, okay, is this worth it? First of all. And then if it is, how do we get them to come back for more?
Right.
And you do that by over delivering, and whether that's in engagement or giving them a little bit of peek into why they should play.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's interesting because we deal with the same thing here. We only try to work with companies that we like. We try the products, we do this. But a lot of the times in like the podcast world, so to speak, it's like they don't give you enough time to try to perform. You know, they'll give the like, hey,
right. Yeah,
this is,
they want instant results.
right. It's like, hey, they'll you know, hey, we'll do 2 of these and we'll see how it goes from there. And you're like, I don't think our audience is really going to like receive that in 2 podcast reads or whatever it is, you know, something in the background. That's why we work with Manscaped and like, it's a beautiful relationship because it's balls and this and that. And it's funny. Well,
the podcast reads are amazing.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. And like
it's a perfect fit.
It's a perfect fit. But it's funny because we could have fun with it and we could do that. And
they're not mad when you say stuff like that.
Totally. They want us to say stuff like that.
Right,
So shout out. We're going to send you an invoice for this episode. But no, but it's also like Athletic Greens, right? It's like that's a company that really can like, you know, they let you do your thing and work it out, you know? So this whole, it's an interesting like ballet, so to speak, with or dances with these companies.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it too is like taking the position, much like skaters have done historically, which is like, why should we do this?
Yeah.
Right? Why should we let you in to the 9 Club?
Right.
And, you know, it might take longer, but the right partners like Manscaped.
Right. And the Athletic, those are the companies, because we only want to work with certain, you know, it's a whole thing. But the reason why I'm talking about us is because it's definitely equates to, you know, skaters and their brand deals too, I'm sure. Definitely. You know? Yeah.
I mean, I think
the same lines.
It is. And, you know, it's very interesting because, you know, those brands that come through like third-party influencer agencies or whatever, it's like, it's all data informed. It's not like culture informed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Very often, sometimes it's different. Sometimes you'll have like a creative director, you know, like, I don't know, like Francisco Regazzoni at Palm Angels or whatever, who's doing something at Montclair and is like, I really want to do something with skateboarders and I love what's happening with skateboard culture. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, he really wants to like lean into skating and like, let's get him out, immersed in the space and like participate in it in a meaningful way. And then that comes off, right? It's like, okay, you get to come to the party then.
Right.
But the other brands that just want and then the other brands that just want a quick hit, you know, it's like, okay, you know, if we can go extract a chunk of change let's go get it. Yeah. But don't expect it to come back around because this is purely a low-hanging fruit deal and we're just going to get you paid.
Right.
And you always want the ones that are like, this was amazing, let's do it again.
Totally. Right. Yeah. And also expand.
Yeah, who else you got? What else is going on? What should we be paying attention to? Why, you know, what's working, what's not?
Yeah, because I think that's the biggest thing in skateboarding. Like I said before, it's like, man, it's so tough to you know, make a living skateboarding, especially these days.
Yeah.
And I guess like, how do we get these brands to, you know, if they're coming into skateboarding, like how do we, you know, spread it around a little bit, or is that even not an option?
Keep it all for yourself.
I think you should look at it more holistically, which is like, what are the emerging brands or athlete or skater-owned brands that have an opportunity to maybe transcend to more mainstream sales potential or whatever? And how can you get those brands that understand the value in what you're doing to make more meaningful investments in you? Because really our community should be supporting each other, and we literally have like 3 or 4 multinational billion-dollar conglomerates that own the space.
Sure.
And so maybe it's like a brand deal with a brand like, I don't know, you know, a new shoe brand or whatever, but it's, you know, from the space, and you do some kind of trade, and then as a result sales improve for them, and the next time around they make a bigger commitment.
Right.
I think, you know, skateboarding is so nuanced, and it's kind of just unique, right? Like you kind of have to come from it, or at least have a significant amount of experience to understand it.
For sure.
And so it there's plenty of brands that come in and just want to do an Olympic play, right? They'll write a big check for every 4 years. They'll slap some stickers on an athlete and, hope they get some screen time.
Sure.
But I think that model is broken.
For sure.
And we'll keep going and taking that money. But the reality is it's not really meaningful, and it's disappointing because you don't want appropriation of the culture just for a quick buck. It's
because skateboarding's never been like that.
Yeah.
There's obviously we're at a turning point where we are accepting these deals, but it's based on, like you were saying earlier, it's like these are significant deals, and why should we turn these down? What I mean? Based on what
Fine.
somebody's selling.
You want to give me your money?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Or based
all
on
day
what
long.
someone's saying, it's like, later, dude. I'm about to get this deal.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And say all you want, but
Yeah.
I just got $50,000 and that's going to help my family.
Big
Or
time.
I mean, especially for like the Brazilian skaters and like life-changing opportunity.
Oh
And
my goodness.
you just can't hate on that.
No,
No,
they're
for
so
sure.
humble too. Like, that money goes a long way.
Seriously.
Bring that
Yeah.
money back home, like. They're buying some things, you know what I mean? That, like some things that are appropriate to their family, you know what I mean? And
Right.
that means a lot, man.
Yeah, they're putting food on the table, quite literally. I
Straight
think,
up.
us and our Americans and our exceptionalism, it's like, stuff like that really is an opportunity for us all to collectively check ourselves.
Definitely. Who was the first person that you represented? Like, as far as coming in, into the representation world,
Oh my
who
God.
was that first person that brought you into the, and made this happen?
Well, so I got injured a bunch snowboarding and then was like, okay, what's next? I had gotten involved in a lawsuit with a sponsor that I was living in Seattle at the time, and it was Ride Snowboards. They were being acquired by K2. They fired me. I found a lawyer who took me on contingency and essentially sued them for wrongful termination. And kind of like through that process was inspired, like, wait a minute, like no one's looking out for the little guy. In that instance, I was the little guy, and I just got lucky that I found an attorney who essentially made me write my own case, like really put me to task. Like she saw that I was motivated and astute, and so it ended up going to arbitration. They settled. But through that process was like, hey, like there's room for this, right? There's room for representation. And so I essentially co-founded a boutique agency specializing in action sports representation. And it was kind of a culmination of talent. But I would say, we worked with, I didn't sign Burnquist. My former partner did. I had a bunch of snowboarders. I really feel like skateboarding, Costin was like the first really, Costin and Rune were my first kind of real meaningful partners in representation.
Those were great partners.
Yeah.
Partner up with in that sense.
And I just like stylistically, it was kind of like, I don't know, I was young and ambitious and maybe a little fearless. And I guess that's what it took, right? Because it would have been really easy to be so intimidated that it was like, I can't do this.
For sure.
But, work with Todd Richards a bit. And, he's a skater and a snowboarder. Love him. Speaking of Olympic commentators, he's doing Beijing.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
What were his
so, yeah, that's
thoughts?
kind of how I cut my teeth.
Okay.
Early on. I would say, Costin and Rune were in the skate community my first real star clients.
Okay. Interesting.
So cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was going to ask, what did is it Todd Richards? That's his name. What did he think about the knee grab?
I think he was pretty disappointed. When you're in China and you can't speak openly because you're paid by a broadcaster, you're probably limited in how much you can share your disappointment. but I think, anyone who knows anything about the space was pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, do you represent just skateboarders and snowboarders, or other
And surfers.
surfers?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
those three mainly, or
That's
only?
it.
That's it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Why is
Sometimes I'll have like an outlier, like someone I just like who I want to help out. I do help out a woman by the name of Kika Keith, who owns the first Black woman-owned dispensary in South Central.
Amazing.
Go.
Crenshaw Gorilla Wellness.
Let's
Please go and make a purchase. She is a family-run business. She has been a total community activist.
Anybody in LA?
It's on
go,
Crenshaw.
Go visit.
Yeah, and it's a phenomenal experience.
Love that.
It's pretty cool.
Love that.
Love it.
Love that.
And she's just like, you should follow Gorilla RX on Instagram.
Okay.
She's doing
Okay.
cool stuff. So, I just basically fan out on this person, and there was an opportunity for me to kind of
Help.
help just her maximize her individual opportunities. And I just,
Amazing.
but she's not a skater. Her daughter is, so.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
No
There's
way.
a tie still. No matter
There
what.
you go. There you go. There you
Yeah.
That's
go.
awesome.
Yeah.
Snowboarding, skateboarding, surfing. Is there different monetary split there? Is there different like a
Earning potential, you mean
earning
like ceiling,
potential?
floor
Yeah,
ceiling?
There's it seems like surfers make a lot of money,
I
snowboarders,
heard.
Oh yeah.
skateboarders are kind of maybe coming third or fourth there.
Well,
And
I will say
why?
it's changed a lot,
Okay.
right? Like there's been a massive correction across the board.
Oh.
Nice.
And no.
Oh no.
Then our
Well,
disfavor to us.
A lot to all of you, yes. In that, we've had major market conglomeratization, the rise of Amazon, and you've got 4 major brands who essentially own everything,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
In every category. And so there's a little bit of price fixing that's happened because it's like, well, if you're only going to pay this much, we're not going to pay $1 more. We don't have to, right?
Right.
And it's like how much influence there's only, the wealth disparity, even in action sports, has gotten even greater because of that. And as a result, also, I think generationally, there is an assumption that athletes or individuals don't move the needle maybe as much as they used to. Or, I mean, even if you look at like what Nike's done with their pro shoes, and now like Vans does colorways, you know what I mean? Instead of signature products, which is just
Right.
like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
But even still, the people that could actually get a signature product versus everybody else, there's 10 of them. So, with that comes, less opportunity for everyone except for the top 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Because there is just a handful of these.
That
in-
really
that are
can
really doing it.
and can create enough leverage in the
Right.
marketplace to be like, okay, I'll go ride for somebody else, and they're going to pay me that much more.
Yeah.
And then you get into first right of refusal or whatever. But
Sure.
you can drive price up,
Yeah.
and then there's the occasional opportunity that just kind of falls out of nowhere, and the Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. Just random.
What's his name? Is he Jamaican?
Oh, Lucien
Skater.
Clark?
Yeah,
Lucien
Lucien
Clark.
Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't know. Was all that cash real in the post? I don't know. Still want to know. Do we
Still
know?
s-
Yeah, I don't know.
Was
I
that
would imagine,
real?
I would imagine it is.
Benjamin's?
I wouldn't think it would be fake because
Do we
it
know?
just would look foolish to be fake. I don't know.
I mean,
not
it
to
was
say- not
that
to
was
say
all
that people don't do
Virgil's
foolish
doing,
things.
which
Yeah.
I mean, what an amazing force.
Oh man.
Oh,
True
yeah, no
tragedy.
doubt.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
seriously. So yeah,
It's
But that's
you
like
stop
a-
talking
yeah.
after that. Fuck.
Yeah,
Heavy.
it's pretty,
Yeah.
really sad.
Super
Yeah.
sad.
Like,
Did so much in
he's-
such a short amount of time. It's like
It's radical.
it's super rad.
Yeah, he left his mark for sure.
1000%.
And like everything I've heard too, I didn't know him, but like his, bringing community together, even in his service, was just like, okay, now it's up to you guys to
Totally.
take
Totally.
it to the next level together, which is just so incredible and beautiful and rare.
mean-
Way too young.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, it's interesting the whole dynamic of skater, agent. What's the difference between an agent and a manager?
Well, I have to be licensed in the state, so there is a level of accountability. It's not like I have to take a test or anything. Managers tend to, they're really, in skateboarding, there's not much of a difference. I would say managers don't tend to be as astute or have as comprehensive legal services. Managers tend to, assist in like daily life activities. Like Michelle, who worked with me for a really long time, she was essentially all of my clients' managers, and I'm the agent. So everything from like scheduling appearances or making sure they're posting on time, like all of the kind of day-to-day. So that's a manager's responsibility, where most of my work is more transactional. I'm a little more involved than most, and especially like Hollywood agents, managers, they have like a real need for a distinction.
Okay. But here they kind of go
like
hand in hand.
CAA is an agency and they only have agents, and then celebrities will have their own managers who are not tied to the agency.
Okay. We've all watched Entourage. It's
There you go.
E and R equal.
Yes, right.
What about
exactly.
that new show, Ballers? Is that what it's called?
Oh God.
It's like when you watch, I never even really seen it.
It's gone.
Don't bother.
It's gone.
But they were trying to get, or they were doing it where it was like skateboard. There were skateboarders in there, right? Yeah. They were managing them.
Yeah, it was just like.
You're like, they should have brought me in for some, like, I could have helped you out a little bit. Showed you some real shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a lot of dudes in that. There was one show. Elijah was in there.
Yeah, they did have
a lot of cameos.
Yeah,
a lot of cameos.
Which was cool to see.
That was cool. That was definitely cool.
Yeah.
The show sucked, but the cameos were cool.
I watched it, though. I did. So.
It's fun. It's super fun to see your friends on HBO. Like, anytime you see that, you're like,
yeah, that's when you're like, hey, we made it. We made it to some degree.
Hey, there's my friend.
Do you happen to help out if somebody wants to kind of go into that acting thing or anything? Or do you
typically, if that's something they want to pursue, like Paul was probably the only client I have as an example, and I did most of his Hollywood deals, but at a certain point, it's like, maybe you need an entertainment agent who specializes in that. Like, I'm not in the business of like being in control or controlling about opportunities. It's like if an athlete had an opportunity to work with an entertainment rep and get bigger visibility, then that's great for me too, because I can then go brand deals get bigger because they move the needle or have a larger following or you know what I mean.
How much of a following does it come into play for brand deals, or even maybe taking on a client or something like that?
Like social footprint?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's becoming increasingly important. The more followers you have, the more brand opportunities they're willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So yeah, I think it's great. A lot of it is, how engaged is your community?
Right.
Are you doing interesting things, or are you just kind of a billboard for, advertising? I think people get fatigued by that. It's hard to grow a following when you're just doing like affiliate posts or,
Totally.
But
some people do a great job.
Yeah.
Some people do a great job.
They do.
That,
yeah. I think Paul's a great example of that.
Letitia Buffoni. I think she's
totally
phenomenal at
she
that.
Does a great job, for sure.
Yeah. Deshaun does a good job.
Deshaun, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's harder and harder to get followers. And so when you do, and you have a robust, authentic following, it is worth its weight in gold.
Sure. Right. I mean, we saw, like in the Olympics, Haisa, she just got 20 million followers, like just crazy.
Crazy.
The world just needed to see her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Long overdue, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you
come talk to me, Haisa?
Hey, there you go.
Hey, hit her up.
This is it.
Let's get it, girl. Let's get it, girl.
She'll get you the best deal possible.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. By what you've seen, dealing with the skateboarders, or and brands and different, even ones that are in the skateboarding or out of skateboarding, maybe is there, I don't know, is there something that you'd like to see kind of change in that dynamic of,
I would like to see more baby brands or more rider or athlete or skater owned brands really succeed.
yes,
I'd like to
right.
see more investment and opportunity come from within. I'm always super bullish on that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I'd love to see, some of the juggernauts step out.
The big boys.
I would really love the consumers to be like, you know what? I really care about consuming skater-owned brands.
Right.
Yeah.
And
There's
Which
a lot
is-
of there's a lot of those skaters.
There-
Let's just be honest. There's a
100%.
lot of those,
Yeah.
but we need a lot more for sure to make that possible.
and we just need like 3 or 4 to like really be like, hey, this is who we should be supporting. And,
totally.
I don't know, Soltech's one of those, right?
Yeah.
Still company owned.
NHS, right?
Yeah,
NHS,
NHS,
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah.
Lakai, I mean,
Quail Tap?
Crail
Yeah,
Tap for sure.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah.
they're out there.
Yeah.
But it's also getting because there's a lot of kids that just started skating today.
Yeah.
And they're going to be influenced by the bigger brands also, So
Yeah,
how
I
do-
mean, Primitive. I mean,
Primitive.
there's
Yeah.
a lot
They're
of them.
doing a great
Yeah.
job.
There's a lot of them. I
Exactly.
think it's being able to like transcend beyond just wood or wheels or
Right.
whatever. And like, can you essentially build a lifestyle brand? Is there a broader play or additional products? Like, like I saw you drinking a Liquid Death. Like, I love what those guys are doing.
Yep.
Definitely.
I'd like to see them invest in talent.
Sure.
But overall, I think, they're, death against plastics and, they come from our world,
There's a rad meaning
and
behind it for sure.
yeah, and to see them get broad distribution and be successful, like I want them to win,
Totally.
Right.
against some of the others. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of that too, I think it's kind of on you guys to help people understand like what are the brands we're supporting.
We're all
And
about
Right.
that over
Yeah.
here, huh?
We are. Listen, because we're also just in support of skaters
Yeah.
supporting skaters. So
Right,
a lot of
right.
these skaters, they do skate for the juggernauts and the bigger brands. So,
yeah.
it's
Well, that's where the dollars are.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that can help them along their path to get to that point to, spread their wings and eventually, build within.
Totally.
And that's what, look, try to do that if you can. I mean, if you really care about skateboarding and, you want to make an impact and really, carry the, so-called flag, like, try to do so, but at the end of
Yeah,
the
and
day,
don't buy shit on Amazon.
I've been speaking about this
I
as of recently. I don't know what the, it's
I'm
like,
a-
Don't do it.
I'm
Just
a-
don't do
making
it.
them,
Just
we're just
stop.
making them bigger.
I just ordered
know?
stuff on Amazon today.
Just stop.
Fuck.
There's literally there's 4 things you can only get on Amazon. You can buy those 4 things. Everything else, just go out of your way.
Yeah.
We have to divest.
I agree with you. I agree 1,000% with you because at the end of the day, we're just going to be buying from fucking 2 big conglomerates at the end of that's what they're doing. That's what they're
Facebook
doing.
and Amazon. They are literally going to be the death of our society.
insane.
And only us can make a difference. Like we have to
Right.
stop engaging it. And listen, I'm a walking hypocrisy. Like I'm challenged every single day by how much of a walking hypocrisy I am because like I feel so much about what's wrong in the world and what we need to be doing. I think as a community, as a culture, as a humanity to start making some really big changes. And yet I still like to drive a nice car. I still fill up at the fucking gas station. Like, I really personally struggle with like my own ethos and like where I draw the line on my little daily activism.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
and
saying?
still trying to have like a beautiful life. Like I have so much gratitude that I get to live this experience. I love what I do. I have healthy children. I'm living my best life. I am upper class, working class, but I do all right. And also wanting to like, just burn the house down because we're so broken.
For sure.
Yeah, it's
See beyond all the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. And just the shallowness and even my own materialistic, desires, like having to like reconcile that with like, what really how should we be living? And if we don't all collectively start making some pretty massive changes, like our children are really going to be the ones that are suffering, and that's a hard reality.
Sure.
So true.
So not to be a wet blanket. Oh, look at that.
Just popped up.
Popped up.
He bought me an orange. Oh my
Wow.
goodness. Thank you so much.
Shout out Raj.
Yeah.
Raj. It's always coming through.
Showrunner.
Hopefully there's no
Yeah.
cork in there.
No, it's really nice. Thank you so much.
What did it fall in there, Raj?
Can't go all the way through the whole course.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. You bought me a natural.
There you go.
I'm all about the natural wines. I don't know if you guys know what they're about, but they are all naturally fermented, so
Oh, okay.
typically biodynamically farmed. And
Oh, beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
not a big drinker, so I don't really keep up on a lot of that
yeah,
stuff.
well, it's like a
better for
yummy
you.
kombucha.
Oh, okay.
okay.
So it's got that fizz and the
Not necessarily. Sometimes it does.
sometimes,
but
okay.
Yeah, it's
That one's
just
called
better
Panda
for you.
Juice.
panda juice.
Hey.
Familiar with panda juice?
No, but Panda Juice, I know 9 Club is looking for partners.
There you go.
Hey.
Panda juice. Hey.
Expect a
There
call
you go.
Yeah.
from Nolan.
No, it's interesting. It's a weird world, and I think I said it before. I was like, we go through the same stuff at the 9 Club, trying to look for, partnerships and sponsors and different things that I think relates to the skaters, and the same kind of path. It's like
Well, you want the ecosystem to work, right?
exactly our goal. We've gotten comments sometimes of like, oh, well, why are you doing a brand deal with them? Or why are you promoting them? And we're like, well, for us
You want to do a brand deal?
I mean,
We're keeping the lights on.
the show
people.
doesn't-
And that's the first thing you say.
this show
Yeah.
doesn't, it's an expensive show to run after you get to a certain point. It's not just us in the living room. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but it also comes down to the fact that like we want to take money from maybe this person over here so that these skate companies can pay their riders more or go on trips more, and we don't have to take money out of companies that want to. We can help them out
Right. Just
naturally and organically.
share the love, yeah.
Share the love.
Well, also,
we
because
wanna-
you know the situation of what those let's say a lower tier brand that doesn't have a bunch of money to spend on marketing and you're gonna help them out in a sense of the tier that you would charge someone else that's a bigger brand that's
Right.
outside the company or outside the ethos of skateboarding versus when you're in skateboarding.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Yeah.
really important distinction, actually. It's like you want to be able to continue to give space or hold space for the endemic brands,
Yes.
but also take advantage and use the maybe more corporate dollars. I mean, skateboarding's having a moment, right? It's like I was just looking at the Sporting Good Manufacturers Association's numbers, and like skateboarding, biking, and surfing were like the top 3 in COVID because low barrier to entry, accessibility. I mean, and skateboarding's so beautiful because all you need is a board, right? You need a curb and a driveway and a skateboard.
Doesn't
and
take
you're-
much to make us happy.
That's right. And I just think that's like, it's all about accessibility and opportunity. And I really love so much about skateboarding culture is its diversity. And, really it is mostly urban, city kids.
Totally.
And that there is a pathway to opportunity from, some kid who might not have a path to the same level of opportunity that they could find in skateboarding. And I love that the most about skateboarding.
There's a lot of independence behind it. There's not a coach. There's not anybody that's kind of guiding you along the way. But there is.
Peers.
There are peers.
Yeah.
But there's overall, it's all about you. And,
Yeah.
Your love with
Right.
that
And
skateboard.
an individualistic pursuit. You're like competing against yourself most of the
Exactly.
time, unless you're, the rare Jagger,
Yeah.
Mariah, Bruce,
in it.
so many
Yeah.
amazing
Oh, yeah.
competitive athletes who now have coaches and a whole nother layer of. But I actually, it's funny because it's like the skaters who choose not to go the corporate route or take advantage of that, but are still leaving it all, the skater of the years or whatever, who are, truly talented and literally breaking themselves off. It's totally beautiful.
Right.
Like what Jamie Foy does is so next level. And he's totally authentic to himself. He travels with his mom,
he's the man.
Yeah.
I love him, bro. He's one of the best skateboarders out, and like
For
totally
real.
down to earth.
For
Humble
real.
kid.
Oh, yeah.
He deserves everything that he's getting right now.
I totally agree.
Totally.
And, just some poor white trash kid from, where's he from? Florida, yeah.
Naples, I think. It's not Naples. Jupiter.
Jupiter. Oh,
yeah.
Been to Jupiter. Yeah. Yeah, but like good on him. Like, wow. And just such a phenomenal talent.
my God.
And I love that about skateboarding. You don't have to come from a pedigree.
No.
You don't have to like play, in high school or, I mean, you do, right? You
do
play.
it pretty much.
You do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you're not coming up through like a soccer club experience or whatever, which requires resources on your parents' part. Like you could go all the way just through your own drive and determination.
And he had his own obstacles. There was, in the beginning when people were really talking about, like, he was getting hated on a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, why would
what?
Exactly. For, I don't see, not hate. Let me bring that back. It wasn't hate, but it was like
they weren't giving him the opportunity.
His props on what he was doing leading up to who he was going to be.
Yeah.
Well, he's not classically commercial, right? Nigel checks a lot of boxes in that way.
Right.
Someone like Jamie Foy is maybe a little more rough around the edges, but that's like he is representative of skateboarding in a very special way, and I'd love to see people like that succeed.
It's pure fucking like love.
Exactly.
And I mean, like Copenhagen Rail. I mean, like, he's just so good. It's so fun to watch him skate, and I have a deep appreciation for that kind of archetype who is just found something that they love and thrown themselves into it and are finding success. Against all odds.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's a lot of different types of skateboarders. Like you said, there's the rough around the edges, skaters of the years, this, that, and the others. And how does that fit into kind of your world? Is it not because like marketability, things that maybe certain companies are looking for, is there like some skaters maybe don't work for kind of what you do?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's funny because skateboard competition it's kind of it's like if you can straddle both worlds, that's the perfect storm.
Competition is because I feel like a lot of these brands that are coming, that with the bigger bucks, like they want to see a podium person or they want to see somebody's out there in the contest.
It's just a very
circuit.
Traditional, defined success. It's easy to understand.
That's true.
There's
Yeah.
guaranteed exposure. It's reliable.
Yeah.
And when a brand is wanting to make an investment and they want an ROI, it's like, especially in something like skateboarding where it's very ambiguous, it's very tangible and easy to understand those milestones or measurements of success. And so inevitably for me as an agent wanting to be able to maximize my potential,
Sure.
Athletes who are competing are easier to sell.
Doesn't mean that it won't happen for other athletes, but it's just easier.
No, I mean, Jamie Foy is an example, right?
right.
I can't, I couldn't, like Jagger and Deshaun, like they're straddling both worlds very effectively and have commercial viability. And so that for me, from a business perspective, is who I want to work with.
Sure.
Not saying I wouldn't represent you, Jamie.
You must. That must be kind of interesting. Going around seeing all these people, you must be like, "Hey, come on, let's work." Does this happen a lot? Like when you go out and like you saw Jamie somewhere, do you say that stuff?
No,
No,
because I feel like that's weird, right? Like
I don't know.
I'm
With
not,
skateboarding,
like,
it's like,
frothy-
hey, let's come ride for me. Like,
like
I was just saying-
frothy girlfriend.
I
Like,
was just saying, I think it's like the trickle effect. Like if you're working with Deshaun's like, and Jamie's asking like Deshaun, like, hey, how's everything?
That's
going?
right.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
that's
natural.
the best way is
he could
when
be like,
and
I'm
when
gonna give him
he
your number.
comes,
Yeah.
yes,
Word of
and,
mouth.
and then he makes the call, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, okay, let's meet.
Totally.
Right.
Let's sit down. Let's talk
And I'm
about
sure
your
that's happened
hopes and
numerous
dreams.
Yeah.
You know,
Or a couple times at least. I mean, it seems
yeah,
like
it
that
happens.
would,
It
you know?
happens. It happens.
Right.
I would say, you know, less than half of the time is it actually interesting to me.
Right.
Mm.
And I limit how many athletes. I only have so much bandwidth, so I want to
Sure.
really be able to like help.
Yes.
Right.
That's
The people
another thing,
that I
too.
work with.
I didn't even think about
That
that,
makes
because
sense.
you can't
yeah.
you can't manage
can't take on the
100 different
world.
people.
Do you have a
No.
limit to how many people you work with?
Interestingly enough, it's always been around 10 is the max.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
it's kind of like happens. Like someone will fall off
Oh.
and then someone will come on. And it's, you know, I just have a very kind of organic process now, and development talent kind of, you know, I'll take, I won't have to do that much for development talent. Except for maybe connect some dots, introduce some relationships. A lot of it comes down to like, is the person that I'm working with capable of establishing relationships and rapport and understanding the value exchange and showing up.
Yeah.
And then there's certain instances where, you know, you've got someone like Jagger who's such a beast. It's like, maybe he doesn't need to do as much of that, right? And that's
Right.
okay. That's okay,
Right.
because he's a champion, and I think will continue to be fierce in his determination and success. But I think, you know, a lot of it is about where do you fit in, and who are the relationships at those brands or otherwise that you can create opportunities
Yeah.
together.
I'm sure that it happens sometimes where maybe you take on a client or athlete, and maybe some of the things that you thought would work out doesn't work out.
All the time. That
you
happens
know?
all the time.
Yeah.
I've broken up with many an athlete.
Really? Just like, this isn't working.
Yeah, one in particular recently who's having a lot of success, but the relationship was just toxic, especially with the parent.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, like, I'm not going to be a sycophant. I'm not going to not be honest about things that I think need to change, or, you know, I'm not, I don't fan out.
Sure.
Right.
Like,
sure.
if I think you're doing something lame,
You
I'm
speak
going to
your
tell
truth.
you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you how to be better, because I think, you know, at least for me in my own life, like, I'm always wanting to up level. You know, how can I have this life experience and be the best person I can be? And I'm always making mistakes, but I'm always trying to be better.
Right.
And I want to work with talent. I hate calling them talent, because that's just so lame, but amazing humans
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
that want to do the same.
Sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Sure.
Totally.
Wow.
I love
It's
this.
so great. It's
Yeah.
so
Amazing,
interesting.
for
And
sure.
and that's the thing, is like, I want to, you know, because you're giving opportunity to a lot of these. I mean, the skater's responsibility, I mean, should just be go out and skate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't not worry about, oh my God, this company called me and I got to do this and I got to jump on a meeting call with it. It's like, no, you
Well,
go,
how do you
should
and
go
how do you
skate.
even talk to that? All of a sudden, you're on the phone with someone from business affairs telling you,
Right.
well, how much we're going to give you $500 a month, and you should be really happy about that, and you should just sign this contract. I'm going to send it to you, DocuSign. Just sign on the dotted line, because we're stoked to have you on the program. And most kids are just like, oh my God, I got discovered. This is so fucking amazing. But the reality is again, these are major corporations, and they have a tendency to be exploitive. And all I want to do is make sure that it's a fair exchange.
Sure.
Well, especially early on before they know their worth, you know.
And
Like,
there's a
that's-
level of accountability that I bring too. And it's like, okay, you know, they're going to pay you $500 a month, but if you want to make $2,000 a month, this is what you got to do. Here are the milestones. These are the things that need to happen. You need to show up on time. You need to act responsibly. You need to be a good person, and you need to like really keep your eye on the prize, because it's so competitive now.
Yeah.
I mean, the level of athleticism that's happening. I mean, I never thought in my lifetime that I would see the level of skateboarding
Totally.
and snowboarding that's happening
Crazy.
right now. It's like, wow.
Just in the last few years.
And for
I
the
mean,
women
it's-
too. Like
yes.
the
Oh
women
my God.
up leveling is just like, I mean, all those Japanese girls
Oh, yeah.
and Samaria. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I love again that the women are having a moment like Brianna and who I know was on the show recently. Like
Yeah,
she's just so
she's great.
awesome. I love
So
those
rad.
Canadians. They're the best. Just they're salt of the earth. Yeah. But you know, I think it's like I can still have an appreciation for somebody who's doing something interesting, but that doesn't mean that I can help them
Right.
make more money or further, you know. And I will say one thing that's really important to me when working with talent is like I want all of them. It was funny. Someone just said to me, I have no idea what this means, because I forwarded them an email response and I was like, you know, I called them and walked them through it because it's so important to me. Like I feel really proud that like Paul is a business person now. And so much of that is because he was inquisitive and I was able to share in my experience in a way that like he could be done working with me, but he has a level of understanding of business because of our time together that I was able to share with him and help inform a more well-rounded business person. And so like for me, that feels like a win. Like anyone that I work with and I'm able to like, you know, they age out or whatever, but I know that they're okay.
Yeah.
That they have healthy relationships. That, you know, so much of it is kind of co-parenting,
Sure.
especially, you know,
Nurturing,
at my age.
nurturing along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And I think that's why I've been a good agent for a lot of the boys, is because I do have, you know, almost like a motherly kind of,
Sure.
I mean, I care deeply about the people that I decide to work with.
Right, right. Which is important.
For sure.
Definitely important.
I mean, it's just, like I said, I like to get the most out of life, and that's the best way to get it, right? It's like I get to have, you know, I know, you know, when I'm gone that I made a mark
For
in a
sure.
good way with
For
the
sure.
people that I was lucky enough to get to represent.
Yeah. I mean, he basically gave Paul like a 101 in business throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
I won't take credit for it because he's a very smart kid, and
For
I mean, he's
sure.
not a kid anymore, is he? He's a grown ass man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to think that
You played a part in it.
that
Yeah.
I was able to contribute to his trajectory
For sure, for sure.
I'm sure he would say the same.
Yeah.
Paul Rodriguez, great guy. Is there anything that you would like advice that you'd give skaters out there? Maybe
When's the right time to get an agent or something like that?
there
My
you
mom
go.
would be like, "You need an agent." I'm like, "Mom, I get paid like $2,500 a month. Like, I'm not really the biggest skater." This is like when I was younger.
Right.
But she's like, "You need someone." But she's like, she's a nurse. You know what I mean? She doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
understand that.
She's
but,
also
like,
your mom.
It's also
Right.
my mom. But when is that time for a skateboarder to really look into getting an agent? Your advice?
When it's time, you'll know.
Yeah.
When that phone's ringing.
Yeah. And you're like, oh shit. Because I will say, I think there's like a lot of times an expectation like, oh, I need an agent because an agent's just going to make it rain.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make anything rain. I am purely going to make sure that every stone is not left unturned, so that when it comes to, you know, opportunities coming at you, you can know with absolute confidence that it was vetted, that there is someone in your corner making sure that they're honoring their end of their arrangement and calling you out when you're not, so that you can continue to up-level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, like, you know, I have so many kids, oh, I need an agent. And it's like, call me when you have someone coming at you and you don't know what to do because you have so much opportunity and you need help navigating, because thinking I'm a golden ticket is a mistake.
It's the
Right.
wrong. Right.
It's the wrong attitude to have out the gate, right?
Sure.
And a lot of parents have a tendency to think
I was
that's
just
yeah.
gonna bring up the parent aspect of it, because sometimes you're maybe dealing with younger kids and their parents are the ones that are trying to call the shots.
This client that I was talking about, whose name I will not mention, but
Yeah.
was really toxic, and I mean, I fired him.
You had to let them go.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm just like, I'm not I'm not going to be a part of this.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Especially exploitation of a young person.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
Right.
And you know, like someone like Jagger, it's totally different. Like Dad was a gymnastics coach. He was fierce. He understood dedication and good sportsmanlike conduct, and you know, like had real benefits to his kid's trajectory, even though might have been argued that, you know, he was intense or whatever. But I'm sure someday Jagger will openly acknowledge how much of an influence that he has had on his success.
Yeah.
And I can work with him, right? Like we talk, we're like in it together to support this person. And that feels, there's not like weird expectations or like, you know, it's like a lot of, you know, for me, it's all about transparency. And like, if there's a problem, let's just deal with it because it'll fester. And
100%.
if you're unhappy, what is it? Like, can we work through it? If not, okay. Right.
Right. And I think sometimes the younger kids are the ones that need a person like you as well. You know, it's like you look at the Sky Browns, Haisas, you know, these kids that are uber talented,
Super young.
that are young. And also, you know, they're going to be taken advantage of this, that, and the other, you know.
I mean, I think that's a really important part of the conversation because there's like certain kind of winning archetypes. And I look at Nyjah as one of them, or Kelly Slater, or...
Kelly Slater, congratulations.
Oh, my God.
That was amazing.
But by the way, like, not very happy, right? Probably, like, it's like Shaun White.
Yeah.
Winning is what makes you feel loved.
Okay, right.
And sometimes there's a level of narcissism or vapidness, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to I just don't want to serve somebody.
Right.
I want to help somebody be a healthy, dynamic individual. And I think if you look at my roster, most of the talent that I've worked with for over a decade. And I know that when they're done with me or I'm done, that I helped raise healthy, happy humans.
Sure.
And not just winning at all costs. Because in my experience, that does not, it might be great. You might make a lot of money, but you're not necessarily like a happy person. And that's not anybody's fault. It's just an archetype. And I tend to work better with talent who want more than just to win.
Right.
But there are exceptions to the rules.
Sure.
Of course.
What were you just saying about is that what you were saying about the younger kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you need to surround them at a young age and teach them some kind of very key fundamentals in relationship dynamics and their relationships with boys or girls, and you know, just how to treat people, right? Because fame is all corrupting. And when you have sycophants around you all the time that will do whatever just because you're famous,
Yes, ma'am.
and you don't know who to trust, and it's very lonely. And I would rather help someone who wants to lean into being a good person than just win and have fame because that's what they think is success.
But you can easily cook your way out of this industry by the things you do. So having help along the way and having the more positive, responsible people in your life is definitely going to help you along that path.
Yeah, and I just think there's something to honesty and integrity, and that is intrinsic. And you know, certainly not to take anything away from those champions. Like it's incredible, and a lot of times, you know, I mean, Kelly is an exception. He's 50, same age as me, which is totally insane. And I have so much respect for that. But for me and who I am going to be interacting with on a daily basis, it's really important that there's some at least malleable opportunity to instill some of those key foundational elements early on. And I've had plenty of relationships. You know, I represented Ryan Sheckler for years. where, you know, there's just a dissonance at a certain point and it's time for me to tap out or get fired.
You represented it when he was a kid too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
still under the same umbrella, right?
No, he's
somewhere else
not with
cooling?
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that recently, or is that?
It's been a few years.
years.
Yeah.
Did you help him with Life of Ryan?
I packaged that.
Oh
Wow.
Okay.
But then I got fired before production, so I had no meaningful input.
Oh wow.
It would have been a much different show with my influence.
Really.
Wow.
I never watched the show, but
Yeah.
what kind of difference would you have?
So wait, MTV fired you, not to cut you off.
Yeah,
No,
please.
Ryan did.
Oh, Ryan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I love Ryan Sheckler. I think he's a wonderful person.
Sure.
Well, I mean, if I had meaningful creative input, it wouldn't have been so teen beady.
Okay.
I mean, I worked for him for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Did
But
they
yeah.
approach him for a show, or how did that even work?
No, we put it into development with Jason Carbone, who I knew, and I packaged it basically.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big show back then.
Was that one season?
No, I
was
think
on
it
for a
was.
while.
It was a
2,
couple.
3
Yeah.
It might have been 3.
Yeah.
Spend time looking for that chill girl.
That what
Yeah.
it was? That's what it was about. Obviously, Raj watched it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Hey, there was
Yeah,
some.
I think he found the chill girl though. I think
Did he
he's-
find it?
Oh, yeah, I think
so,
there's
yeah.
season finale. where
No, I
that
think
was all-
recently. I think
Oh,
I
recently.
think recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shit, it took him a while.
Once he found that show's over, yeah. Dude, he did some gnarly skating in that.
Oh my God, he's so
did.
good. He was. I mean, he would break himself off. Like in terms of like an exciting, impassioned skateboarder. I mean, Ryan was truly one of the best.
That's like true professional right there. Like doing big stunts at a time like that
I
where
know, right?
everyone's there. Just
I mean, that kid. I mean, from 5 years old had the eye of the tiger.
yeah.
How old was he when he was doing Life of Ryan?
I think I signed him when he was like 12 or 13.
My God.
But Life of Ryan was, you know, he must have been like 16,
Yeah,
16,
Yeah.
17
Yeah.
maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, like real coming of age story.
Imagine that. I mean, you're literally,
Coming of age story.
but you got cameras all over you. Oh my god.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure, dude.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
Hell yeah.
He handled it.
Yeah.
He did.
For sure.
He did.
For sure. He's a star.
But the problem with those MTV shows back then is like they wanted to seem like reality, but it's just basically scripted reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they start asking you to start doing things over and over again. It's like, dude, I just broke up with my girlfriend. You're asking me to go back and break up with her again on
Yeah.
camera. Like,
That
fuck
again?
off.
Yeah, like here, drink some booze and then go do it again.
Yeah.
Dude.
At
Wow.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that. I'm not saying that. I
Yeah,
wasn't
you
there.
just-
I literally was not
Hey,
there.
hey.
That was a rough one. But yeah, like I said earlier, like a lot of those breakups, it was like, you know, really heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like you said before, I mean, you were, 9 or 10 is the magic number,
Yeah.
And a lot of these people you've been working with decades and stuff. But I applaud you for doing the work that you do because I think skateboarders need it. They need somebody to protect them, and even if it comes down to a simple contract, with
Yeah.
with the skateboard brand, because a lot of it's one-sided.
It is. I mean, inherently, they're motivated to be one-sided.
Exactly.
So to have, a conversation around, how to make it more fair and equitable
For
is
sure.
an important part of the exercise. And everyone should do that in every kind of arrangement they make, whether it's a marriage or a sponsor.
Right.
I know we're going to wrap soon. I wanted to unpack with you guys a little bit the state of park skateboarding.
Let's unpack.
Because I'm just curious from your guys' perspective, like what is going on? Why are we having kind of, a street renaissance, and transition skating seems to be having a contracted moment, much like, vert skating, obviously, which is virtually obsolete. Do you think it's because of lack of access to like actual like featured parks, or why do you think all of a sudden like transition skating has always been like such a part of skating,
Yeah.
but it feels to me like, I don't know, like Vans divesting from Park Series, we still don't have, Hey Mana is one of my clients, and it's just like I would like to hear from you guys who definitely are more street in
Yeah.
your sensibilities, but like what is your perception of what's happening, and what do you think the future looks like for transition skateboarders?
Let me take that one first. Or
Go ahead if you want to.
we actually have been just talking about this recently, and to be
Yeah.
honest, like I think it's somewhat making I'd like to say somewhat of a comeback. You know,
Vert especially
Vert
is making
especially.
it's making a comeback. Not that it just died, but it's definitely getting back.
I mean,
out
I think
there
it's
for
fun to
sure.
watch. Personally, like
For
I love
1000%.
watching park
Right.
skating. Like Zion
Oh my god!
is so much fun. I
so
love
fun to
watching
watch.
Jagger and
Yeah.
Haymana Skate Park. Like for me to go watch an event, and I've been to every street league ever.
Yeah.
Tampa's a little bit different because there are transitional elements, but I'm just wondering, like, where
Yeah.
is
just-
it?
I feel like street is just so accessible. You can relate to it everywhere you go.
That's
Yeah.
Every
And you-
skater can. Relate
Every
to it.
skater
Every
can
skater.
relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, like we don't. There we have the Venice Park here, but there's
not
only
a lot-
one place. You have to go one place, and you want to learn. There's people there. It's a different type of environment than
Yeah.
going out by
There's
yourself.
usually one person in the bowl at a time too, or the street. Like
Yeah, you can
you're
kind of.
hitting everything. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
the skaters are learning street and transition right away when they start skating now.
Yeah.
But street will
But it's
just
accessible,
always.
like you're saying. It's accessibility. There's not as many. I mean, there's in the valley. There's one bowl, and I'm stoked that we even have a bowl. It's at Pedlo, but you know,
Oh wow, yeah.
there's not a lot of keep going. There's not a lot of places that you can find these things. So I think that's the lack there of that.
Yeah.
That's going to kind of like transcend on where we go with this.
Yeah. Either
So it's
more
like either more
parks
parks,
or
you-
more.
I don't even know where half pipe is at all.
No,
I think like
Tony
Elliot.
has one.
Yeah, Tony
I think like
Cool.
Elliot Sloan or whatever
Oh, yeah.
has
Yeah.
one in
Yeah.
his yard, right?
Again, but that's like
Yeah.
a few far in between. It's like
Totally.
where are
Nobody
we
can go
at,
skate that. You know,
There used to
Kid
be
off the-
tons of like ramps in people's backyards in like
Right.
in the late '80s, early '90s. For me, I saw that all the time, but now it's like scarce.
And
I
it's
think
just
I think it's important too for the skaters to show that side of it too, because you got people like Zion, you got people like Jamie Foy, Yuto. All these people can skate bowls, transitions, all this stuff, but it's mainly not the things that they're showing, right? They're mainly more street.
yeah.
You know, and I think they should.
I do
Let's
too.
watch-
It's surprising to me, given that it is an Olympic inclusion, the success of Sky Brown
Oh,
and
yeah.
transitional skating. Like, what's his name? Who won? The Australian kid,
Keegan.
Keegan.
Palmer.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God. It was
Right.
incredible. It was
Totally.
spectacular, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, why? I mean, it's like people watch snowboarding half pipe. You don't have to have access to snowboarding half pipe to
True.
appreciate
That's so true.
Right.
what the physicality, the dynamicness of it, the speed, the uniqueness. Like, Rune was still one of my favorite skaters of all time. And so much of that was just because of his technical park skating,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, I mean, he was maybe the GOAT of park.
For sure.
I think, still is
For- oh,
probably
yeah.
on some level.
Legend.
I guess it also depends on where you live at. Like if you're in the East Coast and there's a lot of indoor parks that are accessible, but then if you live in Canada where there's bowls, or if you live in Oregon, there's bowls and transition everywhere. And they're
But
not
it's like
really-
there's no brands who are like really like getting behind
Certain
Right.
brands,
that
Right.
momentum
Yeah,
or
sure.
like and I don't know. I personally just hope that more brands start to see why
Mm-hmm.
that is an interesting category, and purely from like an exhibition or demonstration
Right,
or
definitely.
entertainment, right? Park's fun to watch.
It's
It really
it's
is.
really
Yeah.
fun, and there are those people like you said come out of geez, the name just slipped my mind.
we've
Simon
been-
Bannerow,
Yeah.
from
Oh,
Girl.
wow,
It's like
yeah.
these
Yeah.
people are like incredible, and they need to be showcased.
Yeah,
More
it's like
Raven,
you know,
yeah.
I don't even know
Raven,
who
yeah.
that is.
Oh
You
my
know what I mean?
God,
Because there's
phenomenal.
like so little coverage, or
Totally.
and most of the media is not covering what's happening in that space. I'm not seeing like really comprehensive video parts that
Sure.
are really taking that kind of transition skating to the next level. I feel like it's ripe for it. I hope that it has a renaissance, because I hate to see transition skateboarders not have
Right.
opportunity, right?
Right.
Especially
like-
the vert too.
Yeah.
When we're talking about
I mean, Vert is
it's like-
dead. Vert is dead.
I mean, it's like,
But it is-
it's somewhere. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like it's kind of like you're skating a skate park, and sometimes coverage in a skate park isn't really the coolest thing on the planet. You know what I'm
Depends
saying?
who it is.
It definitely depends who it is. Is Tom Penny skating some whatever? Like you're like, hell yeah, I want to watch
Yeah.
that.
Even the newer kid, like
Yeah.
like Dylan Jabe, he skates
Oh,
at
yeah.
a skate park. You're like,
yeah. I mean,
Right.
he is so
but it's
good.
hard.
Christ.
It's hard to market that though, right? Like
Right.
you're not gonna get a Thrasher cover skating Poods Park.
No.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's all this stuff,
Facts.
and there might be some.
Burnett might surprise you.
Okay, but
I just put Frank Gall on the cover.
But I think
that was
like
tight.
That's amazing.
that's amazing. But I think even
Yeah.
with Vert, it's few and far between. Like you're not, they may not give a cover for Vert.
Yeah, they,
You know?
I can
Not
see a
right
park.
now, not
I
right
can
now.
see like
No,
a
but they
had
should.
that.
Yeah.
That's
Of course,
exactly
yeah.
what they should fucking
Yeah,
do.
sure.
Thrasher should run like some ridiculous.
Well, Jimmy Wilkins is that guy right now.
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah.
go shoot him for a day. I'm sure you can find a fucking cover.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
right.
true. It's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, the first, or no, was it the second one? The first skateboard mag was Danny Way in the cover with the when he started doing the mega ramp.
Yep.
But yeah,
Well, that's a mega ramp.
Was
Yeah,
that
that
the was that the heli drop into
no, that was
It was the Rainbow Rail.
It
it was the
Oh,
Rainbow
yeah, the
Rail.
Rainbow Rail,
It was
yeah, yeah.
literally
Of
first
course,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I grew up with Danny and Colin, and transition skating as kind of integral aspect of skateboarding. It's just interesting to see the
Yeah.
ebb and flow of of trend
Right.
within the
Right.
genre is it's all ever changing, right?
Yeah. Vert's amazing to watch, especially live. You're watching
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
Vert. And I think Tony Hawk, he's trying to, bring that back. I mean, it was at the Street League in Utah. They
Yeah,
had
yeah,
it
they did
there,
that
and
demonstration.
the
Yeah,
demo
yeah.
was there, and it was incredible. And the thing that I loved about it the most, too, was like you had like Ashad, Zion, Jamie Foxx, like all these guys were just going crazy
Mm-hmm.
for these old dudes on the
Yeah.
ramp.
Yeah.
But it was magical.
Like Bucky and
my
but
God,
I
it
love
was
it. I love it.
magical.
And it's so much easier on the body
Yeah.
when you're
Well,
landing in
no doubt.
tranny.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Right down there, But it's I'd like to see it, and there I guess there's talks of it entering the Olympics,
Should've
for
had it in
vert and
the
stuff
beginning.
like that.
The vert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vert.
yeah,
I
it's
would-
just dynamic. I think it's fun to watch. So.
I felt like there was way more hype when the street at the Olympics. There was way more hype around that, and the
Yeah.
park came around. It was cool. Watching that in person was incredible.
But it didn't even register on the radar. Like no
Yeah.
one, Corey Juno did not get a welcoming home party.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think a lot of that was timing too. Like Street was at the front end, and Jagger's medal was the first, I think, American medal even maybe.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Okay.
right.
Of the games.
Yeah.
So there's something to that, right?
True.
People get kind of Olympic fatigue, and then if it's at the end, which it was, it essentially closed the games.
Yeah.
It kind of had waned by then, and I think that was a gaffe on their part. They literally should have opened with that.
Yeah.
Right.
With both.
Yeah.
Right. It should have been 2 days, 3 days of skateboarding.
Yeah, they really divided it,
Yeah, they bookended the
Right.
entire Summer Olympics with skateboarding,
Yeah.
which was an interesting strategy.
Their whole strategy was interesting. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, isn't that wait? So what was so Jagger came home. He was on like Jimmy Kimmel or something, wasn't he? Or Jimmy Fallon or something?
Yeah, we did Kimmel
Kimmel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
did you connect that?
with
all-
David Wade or David Spade, sorry. Yeah, I mean it's mostly reactive at that point. I've had a lot of Olympic athletes actually, mostly because of snowboarding.
Yeah. Okay.
So like there's a cadence, there's like all rules and stuff about what kind of media you can do, and we know most of the booking agents, and like I've been in the game so long, it's like it's mostly reactive and just
comes with
them
it.
knowing who to contact,
Right.
and then we make it happen. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
you must have been pretty excited to see him get
Oh
third.
my god! Oh my god! I was just telling someone the other day because my client Zoe won a gold medal the other night, and she's a phenomenal snowboarder. Oh my gosh! But her dad kind of went viral because he's a Kiwi and New Zealander, and he said on the he had a post-win interview, and he was just smashed.
Amazing.
Right, totally smashed. Been drinking whiskey all day, and
Yes.
the guy was like, how excited are you?" It was New Zealand's first ever winter medal,
Wow.
so it was
Wow.
historical.
Okay.
And he's like, "Well, I'm pretty fucking excited." And it was just like, and then it reminded me that so for Jagger's event. I didn't have it on Peacock or whatever. It was like, if you guys recall, it was a real shit show of where to catch it. And then they did a broadcast switch. So I ended up going to a sports bar, and I was so nervous because here's a kid I've been working with since he was 8. I had a few margaritas. I don't drink much. I already had a buzz off this
orange
quarter of an orange wine that I have here.
Panda juice.
It feels good. Yeah, panda juice.
You want some
I
more?
like it. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
That I had a few margaritas, and like I was just thinking, like, thank God, because I feel like a parental, right? Like I'm so invested, I can't watch. I literally can't watch.
Yeah.
Like I walk away, like tell me what happened, because I just take it on so much. It's such an emotional experience that it was very relatable to me, and I was so glad, as the agent doesn't get the post game interview, which is fine. But just really, really feeling that, that just pure unadulterated excitement and needing some alcohol to get through the nervousness, because it really is radical what these kids are doing, and I just love them. Like I love Jagger so much.
Yeah, skateboarding, it ain't stopping anytime soon. It is going.
Yeah.
Like we said, just in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
these kids,
it's on.
It's going. It's crazy.
It's so fun. It's such a fun community and culture to be a part of.
I love it.
Truly honored to be here. Thank you.
Definitely.
Well, no, thank you so much
I've known you for so long.
Yeah, I know, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's
We've
been
definitely
years
known
since I've seen you.
Yeah. And it's good to see you and catch up for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you so much for coming. Before we go, can we just give you a couple 9 Club things to take home with you? We got those sweat hoodies.
Oh,
and
you
stuff,
better.
You know, yeah.
I will rock it.
What size?
Some candles.
I'm probably like a men's small.
Okay.
What would that be?
I'm assuming you don't have women's.
We don't have
sizes.
small, actually. I think we have mediums.
Yeah, so the smallest size you have.
I think we got mediums.
Yeah.
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 You mean to bring over 1 or 2 smalls?
I don't know what we have back there.
I don't think we even ordered them.
Yeah. Smalls
See,
really
Raj,
go.
we got to make sure we get 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually have 1 or 2 in inventory forever.
Right. That's true.
So what's next? Is there anybody out there that you got your eye on, or what's going on? Are we talking. I mean, you must always be looking.
I mean, there's a few we talked
Paying
about.
attention, at least.
Yes.
There's a couple. One in particular we talked about today.
Mm-hmm. I know who that is.
Yeah.
Chris Roberts.
Hey! Beautiful, man. Athletic Greens, 9club.com.
Yeah, I think, there's a few I have my sights on. I love winning clients that, take a minute.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's like you have to do some
eventually they'll
work
see
on
the
the
light.
front end. Yeah, yeah. Come on over here.
It'll be worth your while.
Let me show
Come
you.
on.
Yeah, are you ever
show
schmoozing to try to, get somebody else out of another
Oh,
agent's
yeah. I'll
grasp?
happily steal a client.
Okay. I love that.
Watch out.
I love that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid.
Let's
It's just
go.
a conversation.
Let's
If it
go.
evolves into something,
Hey.
That's
my
right.
fault.
And hey,
Right, Kelly, thank you.
I really, skateboarders are totally autonomous to make their own decisions based on the best interests
So
of
true.
what's good for them. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely some TMs out there that don't want me anywhere near their athletes, but
I think it was such an early on thing that I'm going to go ahead and say I'm apologize for them to you because you deserve that. I mean, I think it was so early on we were just being skateboarders,
it's all good. Thank you for saying that. I mean, I think the hardest part for me is I've always been a fan of like McCrank and Howard and even Baltimore, like such respect for the brand.
For sure.
That it was a little bit heartbreaking that somehow I got caught in the middle or perceived as somehow, being disruptive to relationships or whatever. But I can sleep good at night knowing that I did what was in the best interest of my clients' wishes.
Yeah.
And that is like all I need, right? And
Absolutely.
And I would happily atone for my mistakes, and I've certainly made plenty of them.
As we all have.
We're human.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
It comes hand in hand.
But I love skateboarding. Like, truly, it is a part of the fabric of my being in so many ways. And I just am honored that I continue to be able to work in the space in a meaningful way.
Well, we could tell. I'm sure we could bring in a lot of agents here and not even talk about skateboarding, and they don't even know what the hell
Oh, yeah.
a Tray flip is
Yeah.
tray flip. What's that?
Yeah, I could
And
name a
most
couple
likely-
now, but I won't.
Yeah.
Most likely, and to be honest, most likely they wouldn't be sitting right here. They won't be sitting here because they don't. They're
Yeah,
they're
they
not
don't
a
get
part
to
of the
come on
culture.
9 Club.
No,
They're not
no.
a part of the culture.
Sorry
I know.
about it.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of like.
Well, let me say
melon
something to that, which
Yeah.
is I think that it's really important as a skater to, if you are going to find representation, that you do pick someone who really has an understanding and appreciation and relationships from within skateboarding that is not just purely transactional. That it's because you love the space, that you're paying attention. It's like, I am in the 9 Club now, right? And that, I am a part of the Street League establishment. I have known all those guys from the beginning, from the inception. I've been to almost every X Games ever. And so I just think, like, when you start making decisions about your career as a skater, you should make decisions about who you want to work with based on them having, also being a part of the tribe.
Totally.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
It makes more sense that way.
And I just think it's like so beautiful. It is so culturally diverse, and it is so, it's not about, like I work in snowboarding too, right? Obviously, the wealth disparity there is insane. Like, you can't get anywhere. You can't buy a fucking lift ticket. It costs $220 at Vail Resorts or whatever a day. Like, you have to have money. Skateboarding, you don't have to have money. There's like people from all over the world, all walks of life. And it is just so cool in that way. And it's like, you go to certain events and you're amongst your people and it's just like, wow, like this is exceptional. Like, I'm so lucky that I get to be a part of a community, even though I might be a pariah to some. I feel really honored that, I'm invited to the party.
Yes, of course, of course. And the next party you get invited to, you can be wearing some nice 9 Club
I will.
stuff. Okay,
And,
so
we can have a business discussion later.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
see what
for
we can
sure.
do to help bring some more opportunities to what
Yeah.
you guys are doing. Is this okay?
I mean,
I have to ask.
Yep.
Is this
okay.
made by
This is made by a.
what's his name?
No. This is focused. They're,
Oh, okay.
they're from Rotterdam.
Okay, yeah.
They say they saw the state of our old table that was in. That
Oh
was
my
literally
God.
be held. It was literally held together with base plates.
I
And
love it.
it was just shaken, and
What a beautiful piece.
they sent it
of-
from Rotterdam.
Oh my
They built
God.
it. To some
So
skaters in
rad.
their city skated the boards here, and then they put it in the.
And can we buy their furniture? Should we give
I
them
think
a plug
it's
real
focused.
quick? Do we have their?
Focused.com.
Wow.
I think,
Like
or
Raj.
something.
It's probably a little
Give me a
more.
second, I'll find it.
There you go.
But imagine, they
beautiful.
sent this,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
this
absolutely
is not cheap
gorgeous.
to send this.
No.
No, no.
Rotterdam.
It costs a
Beautiful table.
See,
Cost-
you're loved.
I know-
You're loved.
Definitely.
And
See,
we
there you go. There's a
love-
perfect example of what an amazing community
Oh,
is.
for sure.
skateboarding.
Man.
And that's what you don't like the word talent. Like, I don't like the word fan, right?
Yeah.
It's like fan is such a, like, it's our community. Like,
Yeah.
we're all in this
It's
together.
true.
We're all
Yeah.
skateboarders. It doesn't matter if we're sitting here, whoever's sitting there, whoever's
Well,
watching
that's
it
why
at
you're the
home.
nice club.
Oh.
Yeah.
You ain't getting none of this stuff now, okay? You ain't,
That's what we are.
I'm gonna take
we
all
are
this
the nice club.
We can't
gonna
turn it around. There's no way to turn this around.
I'm going to take all this back. I ain't giving you shit. I ain't giving you shit, okay?
Focus website is focus.nu, guys.
NU.
There we go.
NU.
But
Listen,
you guys are so nice. It's
Well,
really, I mean, I was a little nervous, I have to say. I
Oh,
told
yeah?
you earlier, and I'll say it now because we're still on,
Sure.
that I was really nervous that you were going to make me watch like some skate clips and be like, what video is this from? Or, like,
you
what
imagine?
trick was that?
yeah.
And I'd have to like watch it in slow-mo and be like,
Like,
you know,
oh,
I
yeah.
think I kind of know, but I'm really glad that it was so easy and fun and truly a lovely experience.
Thank you so much. I think our goal here, I mean, we're all, we're all in the industry, but our goal here is we just want to celebrate skateboarding.
Yeah.
And we want to celebrate the skaters and the filmers and the photographers and the agents that all make this whole thing
And
possible.
give them their flowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And make sure that
Exactly.
they understand that we
So-
appreciate them.
Yeah.
I just love that there's like opportunity and space for conversation.
Yes.
I think that's like the best part about what you guys are doing.
We weren't the first, we won't be the last, but when we first took it and ran with it, we didn't know that there was a space for it, because skateboarders, they just want to see skateboarding. We
Right.
didn't know if there was like a.
We knew there was a space.
Well, you guys are
Ah,
all
but
like
you-
total skateboard nerds. Let's just
we
be
love
honest.
it. We love.
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up
Yeah.
doing this.
You're
know?
like total nerds, but I love it. It's like you're my people.
There we go.
There we go.
Boom. So first of all, seriously,
Oh, thank you so
pleasure.
much. Truly.
So
Pleasure.
much.
Love you, dude.
Thank
So
you so
good.
much. And thank you for everything that you do for all the
Yes.
skateboarders
Yes.
out
Thank
there.
you.
We really
Thank
do
you.
appreciate that. 9 Club stuff. Here's a shirt for you.
Yay.
Also, here's a. I don't know if you're. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I'll rock a medium.
A medium.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but a crew neck though. Maybe not.
I like a crew
You're
neck.
not gonna.
Yep.
Okay, but a nice hoodie. Yeah, nice hoodie.
Got out
Yeah.
of it.
I could picture going to get your little morning coffee, the hoodie.
Yep.
And,
I'm a real
um,
coffee snob. I'm
are
a wine
you?
snob and a coffee snob, in case you were wondering.
And so here's a mug to put your coffee in or your wine.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, a fan.
love it.
pff, excuse
fan
me.
drew this.
Community. One of our community members.
Of course.
Sam Pearson drew
Sam
that.
Pearson. This is
an older
really
one.
cool. It's kind
So
of
this is
like
skulls.
harkening back to some Pal Peralta.
That was before I was on the show.
Yeah, that was it. It's me,
Yes.
Roger, and Kelly. And also a candle for you if you're a
Yes.
candle
Jesus
person.
Christ.
Yeah,
Where's
he's on
he at?
our other experience show,
What?
our view show.
You make vanilla and cedarwood candles?
We make a lot of stuff.
How's that
Roger,
smell?
We make everything here. at the
yeah,
nightclub.
we make
It's a nice
everything.
club.
Roger,
Super girly. I love it. It
Well-
smells good. Steezes. Thank you.
you have.
It's a
you're
good
just-
combo.
You're just like
It's a good smell,
I didn't give you.
It is.
It
It's
is.
really good.
Roger's morning wood candle. Okay, well listen. Here's
I mean, I don't want to know how Rogers wood candle smells.
Here,
Sorry about it.
also, here's you can put these on your skateboard or snowboard or fridge or whatever, but also maybe your clients want to
Oh,
get
yeah.
on the podium.
Oh,
Hey.
oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Hashtag 9 Club.
We give $20 photo incentive.
You do?
That's
Is that
right.
for real?
Well, they got to be on the Thrasher, the cover of Thrasher, or
Has
the
anyone
podium
ever
on the
invoiced
Olympics.
you for that? Or is that
no,
just...
we're
okay.
still waiting.
Yeah.
We are
Still
still waiting.
waiting. Yeah.
Oh, watch out.
Yeah. Oh,
The agent will make... I'll be
Make
the
it
first one.
happen.
I'm going to be the
gonna make it
first
happen.
one.
Should get our car like $20.
I can't believe this is happening.
It's happening now.
Can't
Yeah,
believe this
right
is
here.
happening. Well, hopefully we can make it up in the back end. Hopefully we can
Okay.
make it up in the,
Yeah.
in the back end. Circe Wallace, thank you so much for coming on the
Yes,
show. We really
definitely. Thank you.
appreciate that.
It's been
And
fun.
all the
Thank you.
insight and everything. It's been fascinating for
Truly
me.
my
I've
pleasure.
loved it.
Definitely.
Yes.
Buy my husband's book.
Okay. Blessed are the bank robbers.
Yeah, March 16th. It's you can pre-book it on Amazon.
Okay. Is it about bank robberies?
Yeah, my husband's a writer. He's written a bunch of books.
Mm-hmm.
This is his latest. This is
Okay.
4th.
Amazing.
He typically writes kind of in the surf genre, narrative nonfiction. But this one is essentially about his kind of notoriously famous bank robbing cousin and his evangelical Christian family. And it's a really, really fun ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I love bank
True
robberies
story.
and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's all true, and he's a truly talented and exceptional writer.
Maybe
so-
become
Love
like a
it.
little Netflix special or something.
So wait, is it being sold
Yeah.
anywhere else besides Amazon?
Oh my God! I love you for saying that. Yes, you can. You can probably buy it at Book Soup,
Okay.
Awesome.
and you can definitely buy it other places than Amazon. And I highly
Let's try those
see.
other
Thanks for
places.
calling me
Yeah.
out on that. That was really good. I said
Yeah.
you could pre-book it on Amazon. I mean, we want to sell books.
No
but-
doubt.
Yeah.
Come on.
we're-
I mean, Amazon was a bookseller.
But our
That's how they
bookstores,
started. Shit.
bookstores aren't really around anymore too
They-
much.
do you mean?
they
Barnes and
are.
Nobles?
Barnes and
We
Nobles
could
trying
go
to
over
hold the
there.
flag.
Yeah.
It's trying
Yeah.
to hold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
trying.
They're
They're
trying.
trying.
Let's go support them.
We
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's good.
At Book Soup, there's some independent book sellers. Book Soup
As
in
well.
particular is a
Okay.
great one, and they're I think on Sunset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some people that don't
Yeah.
want books to go away. Okay.
Or I think
Oh,
you
for
can you
sure.
could order it from Powell's bookstore for sure, or Warwick's in San Diego,
Awesome.
Okay. There you go.
and they would really love that. So
Blessed
What
are
a-
the bank
Definitely.
robbers.
Digitally, is that a thing?
Digital.
Like
he
Kindle?
did an Audible. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure it's
Audible.
I'm sure
Audible
it's
and
available.
digital.
Okay.
Yeah,
Audible.
He
Yeah.
actually read his own Audible, which is fun.
Oh wow.
That's,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like
Cool.
that.
Yeah.
Coming from
I do
the
like
author
that.
himself, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What are you
yeah.
doing? You're digging in your purse. What are
I am
Gonna give us some
I'm
money?
texting
What's
Nino.
going on?
I'm texting Nino to tell him I'm so sorry. I'm
Oh,
so
you're running
to
late.
dinner.
Okay.
Tell him it was
Shit.
my fault.
Yeah, tell him it's
I
all,
haven't seen
tell him it's
Nino-
all Dub's
I haven't
fault.
seen Nino for so long, but he just sent me a little box of what is it, cashmere? What's you know the name of his brand? God damn it,
What is it, cashmere?
Cashmere, fucking.
I trip out on Nino. Great
man.
dude, but I didn't realize until like later that he was all in the Philly scene super hard, like Alien TM back in the day.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah,
Oh, it's in
yeah.
the background of all these videos. That was so cool.
Cashmere Sound. There we go.
Cashmere Sound.
Yeah, he just started a brand not that long ago, and he sent me a box.
Amazing.
So-
I definitely want to help support.
He for
Hell
sure
yeah.
did not bring me a box, but look
Oh.
at this box and I
There you go. Boom.
I have to say I really love that you guys put this up because
Dude, you could take that
Anita
home
and
if you-
Leaf. Can I?
Yeah,
oh
of
my
course.
god, that's amazing.
It's just a little
Yeah.
printout. We printed out.
Yeah, well, Anita, she grew up in Torrance,
Okay.
and she was like properly a part of the scene. And we still keep in touch. I just had her over to my house recently.
Amazing.
So sick.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we try.
Look
you know,
how
we
cute
do.
they are.
I know. I love that.
And
Was
they
that?
shredded.
They,
That was OG Jordans. I had a pair of those too.
Those used to be the
Those
go-tos.
were the best.
They
Oh,
were
yeah.
the go-tos.
They were the best
Insane.
because they totally held up too.
Yeah.
Like they were great skate shoes.
could have been you on there.
Ah.